The message came at 11:17 that Saturday morning. I was sitting at my kitchen table at 214 Pine Street. My coffee had gone cold beside my phone. I'd been awake since before 6, though I had nowhere to be. Austin's name appeared on the screen. For one foolish second, I thought he'd changed his mind. I picked up the phone too quickly. There was no greeting. There was only a link to the wedding live stream and one sentence beneath it. "This is as close as you're getting." I read it twice. Then I set the phone beside my coffee. My hand stayed around the mug, though I wasn't drinking. The blue dress I'd bought was upstairs. It still had the tags on it. I'd chosen it because Austin once said blue suited me. That had been years earlier, when he still noticed things without being asked. I touched the link. The picture opened sideways at first, then it turned and filled the screen. The North Star Belle sat at St. Croix Landing, tied against the dock. White ribbons had been fastened along the railings. Guests were already aboard, holding glasses and moving between the tables. Taylor's phone was mounted on a little tripod. Someone adjusted it, and the view settled on the gangway. I could hear music. I could hear people laughing. Then Austin stepped into the frame. My son was dressed for his wedding. He looked nervous and handsome, and for one second I forgot what he'd written. I leaned closer to the screen. Someone called his name. He turned and smiled. I wasn't there to see it myself. I was good enough to pay for the boat. I just wasn't welcome aboard it. That morning wasn't where the trouble started. It was only where Austin finally stopped pretending there had been a misunderstanding. It had started the previous fall, when he came to my house with a folder and 2 coffees. Austin had always brought coffee when he wanted something. Even as a grown man, he still entered my kitchen with the same hopeful face. "Before you say anything," he told me, "just look." He placed the folder on my table. I was 69 then and had lived alone for 4 years. After my husband died, I kept the house, much as we'd left it. His work gloves stayed on a hook in the garage. His chipped green mug remained in the cupboard. I knew he wasn't coming back for either one. I just wasn't ready for someone else to decide when they should disappear. Austin sat across from me. Taylor stayed standing near the counter. She'd come straight from work and kept checking her phone. "What am I looking at?" I asked. Austin opened the folder. Inside were photographs of a riverboat. It had 2 enclosed decks, polished wood, and rows of windows. One picture showed it moving along the St. Croix River at sunset. "The North Star Belle," he said. "Isn't she beautiful? She's a boat." Taylor looked up from her phone. "It's not just a boat, Patricia. I can see that." Austin smiled carefully. "We want to have the reception on it." I turned another page. There were photographs of white tablecloths, plated dinners, and flowers tied to chairs. Taylor finally sat down. "A hotel ballroom feels so ordinary," she said. "We want something people will remember." I looked at Austin. "What happened to the restaurant?" He rubbed the side of his coffee cup. "It won't hold everyone. You said the wedding would be small. It grew." Taylor gave a short laugh. "Guest lists do that." I kept turning pages. The last one showed the price. I closed the folder. Austin leaned forward. "Mom, you said you wanted to help." "I do. You said Dad would have wanted that. He would have." Taylor folded her hands on the table. "My parents are covering the ceremony and several other things. We thought the reception could be your contribution." "Several other things" was how Taylor spoke about money. She made it sound accounted for without naming anything. "How much are you asking from me?" I said. Austin glanced at Taylor. She answered, $28,000. I didn't speak right away. The refrigerator clicked off behind us. Outside, a delivery truck stopped at the corner. I watched the driver carry a box to the house across the street. Austin reached for my hand. "I know it's a lot." "It is. We'd understand if you can't." That sentence bothered me. Austin knew I could. He'd helped me organize some accounts after his father died. He didn't know every detail, but he knew I wasn't struggling. Taylor touched his arm. "We don't need to pressure her." "I'm not pressured," I said. "I'm thinking." She gave me a small smile. "Of course." I opened the folder again. My husband and I had saved carefully. We didn't live poorly, but we didn't perform our comfort either. He repaired things before replacing them. I packed lunches when we could have eaten out. After he died, people kept telling me to enjoy the money. They made it sound like spending was proof of healing. I looked at the boat again. I pictured Austin standing beside the river. I pictured myself there when the music started. Maybe I pictured his father there too. "What does the fee include?" I asked. Austin's shoulders dropped with relief. Taylor moved her chair closer. She knew every answer then. The charter included the boat, the crew, dinner service, tables, chairs, and a standard beverage package. Flowers and music were separate. So was the ceremony, which would take place earlier at a small venue nearby. "Who signs the agreement?" I asked. Taylor tapped the folder. "You would. The charter company requires the paying client to contract directly. That was the first time I heard the rule that would later matter. At the time, it sounded ordinary. I wasn't searching for protection from my own family. I was checking what I planned to sign. Austin drove me to St. Croix Landing the following Thursday. Taylor met us there. The North Star Belle was docked when we arrived. The river looked gray under a low sky. Fallen leaves had gathered near the edge of the parking lot. Jonathan Rice met us by the office door. He was a practical man with a quiet voice. He didn't sell the boat as a dream. He explained where guests boarded, when vendors could arrive, and what happened if weather delayed departure. Taylor kept moving ahead of him. Could the flowers go here? Yes. Could we put the cake near those windows? Depending on its size. Can the upstairs bar stay open the entire cruise? That would require an upgrade. She looked back at me then. Not at Austin. At me. I pretended not to notice. Jonathan showed us the dining deck. Taylor walked between the tables with her phone raised, filming everything. Austin stood beside me near the windows. "Dad would have loved this," he said. "Yes, he always liked the river." "He did." Austin put his arm around my shoulders. That small gesture helped me ignore several things I should have noticed. Taylor chose where the couple would sit. She chose the route guests would take. She chose where family photographs could happen. She never asked where I wanted to sit. At the office, Jonathan placed the agreement in front of me. He went through it a page at a time. I listened. Taylor interrupted twice to ask about decorations. Austin interrupted once to ask when the final guest count was due. I signed as the sole client. Then I paid the charter fee. Jonathan handed me a copy. "Keep this with your records," he said. "Any changes to the charter need your approval." Taylor reached for the agreement. "I can hold that." I placed it inside my handbag. "I've got it." Her hand stayed there for half a second. Then she pulled it back. "Sure. I just thought I'd keep the wedding paperwork together." "The company can send you the planning details," I said. "I'll keep what I signed." Jonathan looked between us, then handed Taylor a separate planning packet. That was a tiny thing. I didn't think of it as standing my ground. I'd simply spent too many years keeping tax forms, insurance papers, and household receipts to hand away a signed agreement. When I got home, I placed it in my locked desk. The desk had belonged to my husband. It stood against the wall in the small room off my kitchen. The middle drawer stuck during humid weather, and the brass key lived on my regular key ring. I locked the agreement inside. Then I called Austin. "Thank you for today," he said before I could speak. "Seriously, Mom, you're welcome. You made Taylor very happy. I hope I made you happy too." "You did." "Of course you did." I heard Taylor talking behind him. "What did she say?" I asked. "Nothing. She's working on the guest experience." "The guest experience?" He laughed. "You know Taylor." I thought I did. For the next month, she sent me photographs. At first, I enjoyed them. There were flower samples, menu choices, and different arrangements for the dining deck. I replied when she asked. I chose the salmon over the chicken. I approved simple white flowers. I suggested keeping the music low during dinner because my husband's older friends would want to talk. Taylor answered with a thumbs up. Then the planning meetings began. I learned about the first one by accident. Austin called on a Tuesday evening while I was washing dishes. "We finally got the table layout done," he said. I dried my hands. "What table layout? For the boat? You had a meeting?" He paused. Just a quick one, with Jonathan and the event coordinator. When was this? Tonight. I looked at the clock. It was almost 9. No one told me. Taylor thought it would be easier if fewer people were involved. I signed the agreement. I know. I'm paying for the reception. I know, Mom, but fewer people means me. He sighed. Please don't put it like that. How should I put it? It was one meeting. Taylor's under a lot of pressure. I rested my hip against the counter. Soap bubbles slid down the side of the sink. I could have helped. I know you could. Then why didn't you call me? Another pause. I didn't think it was a big deal. That answer became familiar over the following months. At first, I thought Austin was trying to keep peace. Taylor wanted control. He wanted everyone calm. I told myself there was no reason to turn seating charts into a family dispute. Then the invitations arrived. Austin brought mine to the house himself. Taylor wasn't with him. He placed the envelope on my kitchen table and watched me open it. The card was thick and cream-colored. Their names were printed across the top. Beneath them were the ceremony details and the reception information. It was tasteful. Expensive, too. I read it once. Then I turned it over. "What are you looking for?" Austin asked. "My name." His eyes moved toward the window. The earlier sample had included a line near the bottom. Reception hosted with love by Patricia Coleman. It hadn't been my idea. Taylor had added it when she first showed me the design. I told her it wasn't necessary. Now it was gone. Taylor wanted a cleaner layout, Austin said. I placed the invitation flat on the table. She removed my name. It wasn't meant personally. She removed the name of the person paying. "It's our wedding invitation, Mom. It isn't a receipt." I stared at him. He looked sorry the moment he said it. He rubbed both hands over his face. "That came out wrong." "Yes. I just mean the invitation shouldn't be about money. I didn't make it about money." "I know." Taylor put the line there. "I know." Then Taylor removed it. He sat down across from me. "She's stressed." There it was again. I folded the tissue paper around the invitation. "Did you ask her why?" It looked crowded. "That isn't what I asked." Austin's phone buzzed. He checked it and stood. "I have to go. We can talk later. Sit down." He stopped. I almost never spoke to him that way. Maybe that was why he listened. "Did you ask her why?" I said again. He slowly sat. "No." "Why not?" "Because I knew this would happen." "What would happen?" "You'd be hurt. Taylor would feel criticized. I'd be stuck between you." I slid the invitation toward him. "You weren't between us when she removed my name." "Mom, you were beside her." He looked down. I waited for him to answer. He didn't. That silence told me more than the invitation did. After he left, I carried the card into the small room. I unlocked my desk and placed it beside the charter agreement. Then I noticed an email from the charter company. Taylor had requested an upgraded beverage package and an extra hour aboard the boat. The message asked me to approve the added charge. I read it twice. Then I replied to Jonathan. "I do not approve these additions. Please make no changes without my direct written consent." He answered 10 minutes later. "Understood, Mrs. Coleman. The original charter remains unchanged." I printed both emails and locked them with the agreement. For the first time, Taylor had asked for more and received no. I turned the key, slipped it back onto my ring, and called Austin. He answered on the 4th ring. "Hey, Mom. Did Taylor ask the charter company for upgrades?" He was quiet for a second. "She mentioned something about that. She asked for an extra hour and a better beverage package." "Okay. Did you know?" "I knew she was looking at options I would pay for." He lowered his voice. "She's right here. Then you don't need to repeat it later." I heard movement. A door closed. "Mom, what's going on?" I said no. "To what?" "The upgrades." He let out a slow breath. "Without talking to us? No one talked to me before requesting them. She probably assumed Jonathan would send you the details. He did. That's how I found out." "Then what's the problem?" I looked at the invitation on my desk. "The problem is that Taylor makes decisions. Then I received the bill. It wasn't a bill. It was a request." One I declined. He didn't answer. I could picture him standing in their apartment hallway. He always moved away from Taylor before disagreeing with me. He called it privacy. It felt more like hiding. "How much was it?" he asked. I almost laughed. "You don't know?" "No. But you want me to reconsider." I didn't say that. "You haven't asked why I declined." "Fine. Why did you decline? Because I'm not approving additions to meetings I can't attend?" He sighed. "There's no connection between those things. There is to me. Mom, Taylor has a whole plan. She's trying to keep it consistent. I'm not asking to choose every flower. That's what she's afraid of." I sat down at the desk. "What exactly has Taylor told you?" "Nothing. That wasn't nothing." He went quiet again. I waited. Finally, he said, "She feels like you have opinions." "I do have opinions. I know. She has opinions too. It's her wedding. It's yours too." "That's not what I mean." "Then say what you mean." He groaned softly. "Why does every conversation have to become this serious? It became serious when you asked me for $28,000. He whispered my name as if I'd embarrassed him. Mom." "What?" "Please don't throw the amount at me. I said it in my own house. That's not the point. What is the point, Austin?" He was silent long enough that I heard a faucet running on his end. Then he said, "The point is that you offered." I looked at the locked drawer. "Yes, I did. I didn't force you." "No. So don't make it sound like we're taking advantage." I rubbed my thumb over the brass key. "I didn't say that. You're implying it. I'm telling you what happens next. The original charter stays. I won't approve extras unless I'm included in the discussion. That sounds like leverage. It sounds like a budget. Taylor's going to be upset. I'm already upset." The faucet stopped. He didn't say anything to that. "Come for dinner Sunday," I said. It came out before I thought about it. That was my habit with Austin. Whenever a conversation became uncomfortable, I offered food or help. I gave us something easier to discuss. He softened at once. "What are you making?" "Pot roast. With the little potatoes?" "Yes. I'll talk to Taylor. You shouldn't need permission to eat dinner with your mother. Don't start again. I'm not starting anything. I'll let you know." He ended the call with a quick, "Love you." I said it back even though the line had already gone quiet. On Sunday morning, Austin texted that they would come at 5. Then he asked if I could make the apple cake Taylor liked. I went to the grocery store after breakfast. I bought apples, butter, and the expensive vanilla. I also bought fresh rolls because Austin preferred them to the frozen kind. By noon, the roast was in the oven. I set 3 places at the kitchen table. The dining room had more space, but we had always eaten in the kitchen. Austin did his homework there when he was younger. My husband read the newspaper at the end of the table. Even after Austin moved out, Sunday dinner still felt natural in that room. They arrived 20 minutes late. Taylor walked in carrying a large tote bag. Austin held a bottle of wine. "Smells amazing," he said. He kissed my cheek and handed me the bottle. Taylor gave me a quick hug. Her body barely touched mine. "I brought wedding things," she said. For one hopeful moment, I thought the dinner might repair something. She placed the tote beside her chair. "I need you to look at a few invoices." Of course she did. We ate first. Austin had 2 servings. Taylor praised the potatoes and asked how much butter I used. "More than I'll admit," I said. She laughed. It was almost comfortable. That was what made our pattern difficult to see. Taylor wasn't cruel every minute. She could compliment my cooking. She remembered which tea I drank. Once, when I had a bad cold, she left soup on my porch. Then she would close a planning meeting in my face and act confused when I noticed. After dinner, I served the apple cake. Austin leaned back in his chair. "This is why I can never stick to a diet." "You've never been on a diet," Taylor said. "I think about it. That doesn't count." They laughed together. I watched them and felt relieved. I wanted their marriage to be warm. I wanted Taylor to look at my son the way she did then. I just hadn't understood that I kept paying admission to moments like that. Taylor opened her tote. She removed 3 sheets of paper and arranged them beside my plate. "The florist needs a larger deposit," she said. "The invitations cost more because we changed the paper, and the musician requires full payment 2 weeks before. Are these part of the charter?" "No." "Then why do I need to see them?" She glanced at Austin. "We thought you might want to help." "I already helped." "Of course. We know that." Austin cut another piece of cake. "The musician isn't too bad." "How much?" I asked. Taylor pointed to the bottom of the page. I looked. "I thought your parents were covering the ceremony." "They are," she said. "Isn't that where the musician plays? He'll also perform during boarding. Then part of this belongs to the reception. It's all one wedding, Patricia. That wasn't how you divided the costs before." Her smile became careful. "These categories overlap. I push the invoices back. You should decide what fits your budget." Austin stopped chewing. "Mom, we're not asking you to cover everything. What are you asking me to cover?" He looked at Taylor. She gathered the papers into a neat stack. "Forget it. I'm asking a simple question." "It doesn't feel simple." "What did you expect me to say?" She stood and carried her plate to the sink. "I expected you to be happy for us." I stared at her back. "I paid for the reception because I'm happy for you." Austin put down his fork. "Can we not do this tonight? I didn't bring invoices to dinner." Taylor turned from the sink. "I brought them because you complained about not being involved. Being involved isn't the same as receiving expenses. We tried to show you what we're working on after the decisions were made." She crossed her arms. "Do you want to choose the musician now?" "No. I want you to understand the difference." Austin pressed his palms against the table. "Both of you, stop." Taylor looked away first. I began clearing the plates. That was another habit. If my hands were busy, nobody had to look at my face. Austin followed me to the counter. "Mom, leave those. I'll do them. You're a guest. I can wash a plate." Taylor remained by the table, putting invoices into her bag. I handed Austin the dish towel. For several minutes, we worked without speaking. I washed, he dried. It reminded me of when he still lived at home. Then I remembered something I had wanted to ask. "There's one wedding detail I do care about." Taylor looked up. "What?" "I'd like a place set for your father," I told Austin. His hand stopped. Not a full seat among the guests. I didn't expect anyone to serve dinner to an empty chair. I had seen small memorial settings at other weddings. A photograph, a flower, and perhaps a card near the family table. "I thought we could use the picture from your college graduation," I said. "The one where he wore the blue tie." Austin looked toward Taylor. Her face changed before she spoke. "We already discussed memorials." "With whom?" "The coordinator. I wasn't at that meeting." Taylor sat down again. She advised against anything too somber. A photograph isn't somber. It can change the feeling. "His father died." "Mom," Austin said softly. I turned to him. "Do you not want it?" He folded the dish towel once. Then again. "I don't know." "You don't know if you want your father remembered?" "That's not fair." I asked a question. Taylor spoke before he could answer. "We want the day focused on our future." I dried my hands. Remembering him doesn't prevent that. No one said it did. You just said it would change the feeling. She stood again. "Because it will. People will see his photograph and become sad. Austin will become emotional. That isn't what he needs." I looked at my son. "What do you need?" His eyes stayed on the towel. "I need everyone to get along." That answer landed harder than Taylor's. Getting along meant I should accept her decision. It never meant she should reconsider it. I opened the cupboard and took out a plastic container. Taylor's voice softened. "Patricia, we can mention him in the program." "Where?" "We haven't decided." "Was that already discussed too?" She didn't answer. I placed 2 pieces of apple cake in the container. Then I stopped. Usually, I packed enough leftovers for 2 meals. I would add slices of roast, potatoes, rolls, and whatever dessert remained. Austin always returned the containers eventually, stacked inside one another. This time, I put the lid on the cake and left the roast in my refrigerator. I handed the container to him. "Thank you," he said quietly. Taylor picked up her tote. "We should go." Austin carried the wine bottle back to the counter. "We didn't open this. Take it home. It was for you. I don't need it." He hesitated, then left it where it was. At the door, Taylor gave me another quick hug. "Dinner was wonderful, thank you. We'll figure everything out." I didn't know what she meant by everything. After their car left, I returned to the kitchen. The third place setting was still there. Austin had tucked his napkin beneath his plate the way he'd done since he was young. I sat in his chair. The room smelled like cooked apples and dish soap. I thought about all the times Austin called after an argument with Taylor. I listened until he felt better. Then I reminded him to be patient with her. When they moved apartments, I paid the movers. When their refrigerator failed, I replaced it. When Taylor hosted her parents, she borrowed my serving dishes. I had mistaken being needed for being included. That was uncomfortable to admit. Nobody had forced me to offer dinner. Nobody had forced me to keep solving problems before Austin finished explaining them. Helping was the role I understood. My husband and I had built our life that way. One person noticed what needed doing. The other handled it. After he died, Austin became the person I still knew how to care for. Maybe I'd made it too easy for him to take the care and leave the person behind. The next afternoon, Taylor emailed me a draft of the wedding program. My husband's name wasn't in it. I called Austin. He didn't answer. I waited an hour, then called again. This time he picked up. "I'm at work," he said. "I saw the program. Can this wait? Did you approve it?" He exhaled. Taylor handled the program. "Your father isn't mentioned. We decided not to do the memorial thing." "We?" "Yes, Mom. We." He sounded firmer than he had at dinner. I wondered if Taylor was beside him. "Then tell me why." "I already did." "No." Taylor did. "Because I agree with her." I held the program beside the invitation. "Did you agree before dinner?" Another silence. "Austin?" "Yes." There it was. He had let me ask for something already refused. He had watched Taylor answer so he wouldn't have to. "Why didn't you tell me yourself?" "I knew you'd take it badly." How did letting her do it help? "I'm not doing this right now. You asked me to overlook my name disappearing. Now your father's disappeared too. Those aren't the same thing. They feel related from here." His voice tightened. "Not every choice is about you." I placed the program on my desk. "No, but every payment seems to find me." He didn't answer. I heard office sounds behind him. A printer started. Someone spoke nearby. "I have to go," he said. "Before you do, answer one thing." "What? Are there more planning meetings I'm not being told about?" He took a breath. "Yes. How many?" "I don't know." "A few. Have you attended them?" "Some." "And Taylor asked you not to invite me?" She didn't want conflict. What conflict had happened before the first meeting? He had no answer ready. That was the small truth I needed. My exclusion hadn't begun after I objected. My objections had given them an excuse for something already happening. "Mom, I really have to go." "All right, we'll talk later." "Yes." I ended the call before he could offer another quick "love you" to cover what he'd admitted. Then I opened my calendar and crossed out the fitting Taylor had asked me to attend with her the next Saturday. Beneath it, I wrote one sentence: "Ask before helping." I closed the calendar, left the program outside my locked drawer, and went to put the untouched roast in my freezer. It barely fit beside the soup containers. I shut the freezer and returned to the kitchen. My phone rang before I reached the table. Taylor's name appeared on the screen. "Hello?" Austin said, "You canceled Saturday." I did. "Why?" "I have things to do. The fitting was your idea." "I thought you wanted me there." "I do." "Then why are you asking like I canceled a dentist appointment?" She paused. "I'm trying to understand what's happening. I'm not coming to the fitting." "Because of the memorial?" "Because I don't want to spend Saturday pretending." "Pretending what?" "That we're planning this wedding together." Her voice became very calm. "I never said we were planning it together. That was the clearest thing she'd told me. I pulled out a chair and sat. No, you didn't. We invited you to the fitting because I wanted it to be special. What are you being fitted for? My reception dress. And what am I being fitted for? You could have looked at dresses too. Do I have a place at the family table? She didn't answer immediately. We haven't finished the seating. Do I have a place in the photographs? Of course. Which photographs? Patricia, I don't have the entire schedule memorized. I thought you had a whole plan. She inhaled through her nose. This is exactly why I kept the meeting small. Because I ask questions? Because every detail becomes a test. I looked at the sentence in my calendar. Ask before helping. What did you need from me Saturday? I asked. I just told you. You wanted me to look at dresses? Yes. Anything else? No. I waited. Taylor disliked silence. She usually filled it. We did need to discuss the linen upgrade, she added. There it is. It was going to be a conversation. Would you have shown me the price before or after the fitting? Forget it. What color are the original linens? White. And the upgrade? Ivory with gold runners. Then use white. They look cheap. They're included. This isn't a church lunch. No. It's a $28,000 boat reception. She made a sound under her breath. I'm not talking about money with you. You called the person paying. I called my future mother-in-law. Then talk to me like one. She went quiet. I expected anger. Instead, her voice softened. I want us to have a good relationship. So do I. But you keep bringing up what you're paying. I bring it up when you ask me to pay more. You're making the wedding feel transactional. I glanced toward the desk. The charter company sent me a transaction. That's not what I mean. I know. Then why are you being difficult? Because I asked before helping. She didn't understand the sentence. I hadn't expected her to. What does that even mean? It means I'm not approving linens. I already said forget it. All right. She waited for me to soften. I could feel it. Normally, I would have offered another task. I might have asked about flowers or told her I still wanted to attend the fitting. I didn't. Taylor ended the call first. The following morning, I called Jonathan. He answered from the charter office. I could hear a copier and a door opening behind him. Mrs. Coleman, what can I do for you? I'd like the date of the next planning meeting. There was a brief pause. This Friday at 1. I reached for my calendar. At the landing? Yes. We're reviewing the deck arrangement and boarding schedule. Who arranged it? Taylor did. Was I included? Another pause. I assumed she had coordinated that with you. She didn't. I'm sorry. I only have her planning contact information on those emails, but I'm still the client. Yes, ma'am. Then please include me on anything involving the charter. Certainly. His answer came without argument. That surprised me. Can you send me the current details? I can send the charter summary. We don't keep the couple's private planning documents. What do you have? The original package, approved schedule, current guest estimate, and outstanding requests. Are there outstanding requests besides the ones I declined? 2 that don't change your price. A revised table arrangement and a request to begin vendor access earlier. Have those been approved? Not yet. Why not? The earlier access affects the crew schedule. I plan to discuss it Friday. And the table arrangement? That can usually be handled through planning. I'll send you the proposed layout. I thanked him and hung up. His email arrived a few minutes later. The original charter remained untouched. White linens were included. The standard beverage package remained. No extra hour had been added. My refusal had worked. Below that was a guest estimate of 86 people. I stared at the number. Austin had told me the restaurant was too small because the list had grown. I had never asked who had been added. I had been too busy feeling pleased that they wanted my help. The proposed table layout was attached. There were 12 tables on the lower deck. 1 was labeled for the couple and wedding party. 2 were marked family. No names appeared anywhere. I printed the pages and placed them on top of my desk. Then I sent Austin a message. I'll attend Friday's meeting. He called within 3 minutes. Why did you contact Jonathan? Because I wanted the meeting date. You could have asked me. I did ask about meetings. I mean this meeting. I didn't know it existed. He lowered his voice. It's mostly logistics. Then my presence shouldn't cause trouble. You know that isn't what I mean. What do you mean? Taylor arranged this with Jonathan. You going around her makes it look like you don't trust her. She went around me to arrange it. She's planning the wedding. I'm responsible for the charter. He let out a tired breath. Are you going to question everything? I'm going to listen. Can you promise that? No. Mom, I'll ask if I need an answer. This is going to turn into a whole thing. It's a meeting, Austin. For you, maybe. I looked again at the two family tables. Who is sitting with me? What? At the reception. Who is sitting at my table? I don't know. Which family table is mine? We haven't assigned people. The invitations have already gone out. That doesn't mean seating is done. Who's handling it? Taylor. Then ask her. Why does it matter today? Because I was beginning to wonder if anything had been planned for me beyond the payment. I didn't say that. I'll see you Friday, I told him. The sky was bright that afternoon, but the river still had patches of thin ice along the shore. I arrived 10 minutes early. Jonathan was inside the charter office. He had printed the same summary he'd emailed me. I added you to the planning messages, he said. Thank you. I apologize for the oversight. It wasn't yours. He nodded without commenting. Austin and Taylor arrived together. Taylor saw my car first. She stopped in the parking lot and said something to Austin. He looked toward the office window. Neither of them waved. When they came inside, Jonathan greeted them normally. Taylor put a binder on the table. Are we expecting someone else? She asked. No, Jonathan said. Mrs. Coleman asked to be included. I see. I took the chair across from her. Austin sat between us. Jonathan began with the boarding schedule. Guests would arrive at the landing after the ceremony. The boat would remain docked during boarding. Departure would follow once the crew finished its count and safety check. Taylor wanted musicians aboard early. Jonathan explained that the crew needed clear access. What if they load from the upper entrance? She asked. That entrance won't be available. They said they need an hour. We can provide 40 minutes. That's not enough. It's what the schedule allows. Taylor opened her binder. Patricia, early access would cost extra crew time. No, I said. She blinked. I haven't told you the amount. It isn't necessary for the reception. The musicians disagree. Then they can bring less equipment. Austin shifted in his chair. Taylor looked at Jonathan. Can we come back to that? Of course. We moved to the table arrangement. Taylor wanted fewer tables downstairs. She wanted more room near the windows for photographs. Jonathan pointed to the capacity notes. With your current estimate, removing 2 tables makes dinner service tight. We can put younger guests upstairs, she said. Dinner service is downstairs. They can come down for dinner. Then they still need seats. Taylor turned a page in her binder. I have a seating chart. May I see it? I asked. Her fingers stopped. It's not final, I understand. There's no point looking at it yet. I'd still like to. Austin stared at the table. Taylor closed the binder. This is exactly what I was worried about. Jonathan gathered his papers. I can give you a few minutes. You don't need to leave, I said. This is a family matter, Taylor replied. Jonathan looked at me because I was the client. That small glance told me more about the arrangement than any speech could have. It's fine, I said. We'll discuss it later. He continued the meeting. Taylor stayed polite after that. She asked about flowers and cake delivery. I listened and wrote down the answers. When Jonathan mentioned the final guest estimate, I checked the date. It's due 6 weeks before the wedding, he said. What happens if the number changes afterward? I asked. Small adjustments are manageable. A large increase may affect service. Do you need guest names? No. Only the count. Taylor's eyes moved toward me. That answered one question. The charter company didn't control their guest list. Whatever place I had aboard the boat belonged entirely to Austin and Taylor. Near the end, Jonathan asked who would handle decisions on the wedding day. Taylor, Austin said. Jonathan looked at me. For planning details, that's fine. Contract changes still require Mrs. Coleman's approval. Taylor tapped her pen against the binder. Even during the event? Yes. What if she isn't available? I'll be available, I said. Taylor stopped tapping. Jonathan closed his folder. I'll send everyone the updated schedule. The meeting ended 5 minutes later. Outside, the wind had picked up from the river. I buttoned my coat near my car. Taylor came up behind me. You embarrassed me in there. I turned. How? By questioning everything in front of Jonathan. I asked about the charter. You asked to see my seating chart. I wanted to know where I'm sitting. That's not a charter issue. No, it's a family issue. Austin joined us. Can we do this somewhere else? Taylor ignored him. You don't trust me. I don't know what you've planned for me. You're invited. That isn't an answer. You have an invitation. I have the same card the other guests received. What did you expect? I looked at Austin. A clear place. His face tightened. We haven't done the seating. Taylor has. It isn't finished. Then show me the unfinished version. Taylor held the binder against her coat. No. The answer came quickly. At least it was honest. Why not, I asked. Because you'll make a problem out of every name. I only asked about mine. You see? This is what I mean. Austin stepped closer. Mom, let it go for now. I watched him place one hand on Taylor's back. He didn't touch me. All right, I said. Taylor seemed surprised. I opened my car door. Austin frowned. That's it? What else do you want? I don't know. You're acting strange. I attended a meeting. You know what I mean. No, Austin. I'm finding out I usually don't. I got into my car and closed the door. Neither of them moved until I started the engine. When I returned home, Jonathan's updated schedule was already in my email. My name appeared at the top as client. Taylor's appeared below it as planning contact. I printed the page. Then I wrote to both of them. I will continue honoring the original charter. I will not consider additions without the full cost and purpose in writing. Please send all requests by email. Taylor replied first. Understood. Austin called instead. I let it ring. He called again 10 minutes later. Then he sent a message. Please don't turn our wedding into a business arrangement. I read it at my kitchen table. The agreement had always been a business arrangement. My mistake had been treating the rest as proof that I belonged. I opened the locked drawer and added the updated schedule. Before closing it, I removed the invitation and placed it on top of the desk. I needed it where I could see what had been offered and what hadn't. For 3 days, it stayed beside my telephone. Every time I passed the desk, I saw the cream envelope. I didn't hide it again. On Thursday, an email arrived from Taylor. The subject line said, Final Guest Review. There was no greeting. She asked everyone receiving the message to confirm spelling, meal choices, and contact information. A link opened a page with an alphabetical list. My name wasn't there. I searched Coleman. Austin Coleman appeared. Taylor Coleman appeared. Several other people with different last names appeared beneath them. Patricia Coleman did not. I went back to the email. Taylor had copied Austin and 2 vendors. I was included because the message also asked me to approve an added welcome drink. I checked the guest page again. Then I replied, My name is missing. Please correct the list before sending any financial request. Taylor answered 12 minutes later. The guest list is still being adjusted. I wrote back. Then I'll wait for the corrected version. She didn't respond. Austin called that evening. I was in the laundry room folding sheets. Could you approve the welcome drinks? He asked. Am I attending the reception? Why would you ask that? My name isn't on the guest list. It's a working list. Then add me. Taylor's handling it. You're the groom. I know. Are you having trouble spelling Patricia? Come on, Mom. I folded one sheet lengthwise. What does the list say beside your name? I haven't looked. Look now. I'm driving. Call me when you stop. It's just a spreadsheet. It's the guest list. Why does everything have to become a fight? I asked you to put your mother's name on your wedding list. Your name was probably left off because you don't need to RSVP. What do I need to do? What? To attend. You already have an invitation. Then put me on the list. I'll talk to Taylor. Do that before asking about drinks." He became quiet. "The deadline for that upgrade is tomorrow. That's unfortunate." "Mom, it's not a big amount. You don't know what it costs. It's about $600. "So you do know." He didn't answer. I set the folded sheet in the basket. "Did you know my name wasn't there?" "I knew Taylor was revising things. That isn't what I asked." A car horn sounded near him. "I need to focus on driving. Call me when you stop." He didn't. The next morning, Taylor sent a new email. She removed the vendors from the conversation. "Patricia, we need some space to finalize our personal guest decisions. Your financial contribution does not give you approval over attendance." I read the sentence slowly, then I printed it. I replied to both of them. "I'm not asking for approval over attendance. I am asking whether I am invited. Please answer yes or no." No one answered before noon. At 1:15, Austin texted, "Can we come over tonight?" I said yes. I made no dinner. That may sound like a small detail. In my house, it wasn't. Usually, if Austin visited after work, I fed him. Even if he said he had eaten, I put something out. Cheese and crackers, soup, a sandwich cut in half. That evening, I filled the kettle for myself. They arrived at 7. Taylor came in first. She kept her coat on. Austin removed his and hung it by the door. His eyes went toward the kitchen. "Do you want coffee?" I asked. "No, thanks." Taylor shook her head. We sat in the living room. I took the armchair. They sat together on the sofa. Austin rubbed his hands over his knees. We wanted to talk in person. "All right?" Taylor looked at him. He looked back at her. Neither started. I waited. Finally, Taylor said, "The wedding has become very tense." "Yes. We don't want that energy on the day." "What energy?" "This." She moved one hand between us. "We can't keep fighting over every choice." I asked whether I'm invited. That's part of it. Is the answer yes? Taylor's mouth tightened. Austin stared at the floor. I turned to him. "Is the answer yes?" He looked up. "We think it may be better if you don't come." The kettle began whistling in the kitchen. No one moved. I stood, turned off the burner, and poured the water into my mug. My hand was steady until I lifted the tea bag. Then the paper tag tapped twice against the cup. I carried it back to the living room. Taylor had removed her gloves. She held them folded in her lap. "Better for whom?" I asked. "For everyone," she said. "Austin?" He rubbed his forehead. "We don't want a scene. What scene have I made?" The meeting was uncomfortable. I attended a meeting for a contract I signed. You challenged Taylor in front of Jonathan. I asked where I would sit. Taylor leaned forward. "It wasn't just that." "What else?" "You declined every improvement I suggested after excluding me from the decisions. You keep making them conditional. They are conditional. I have to approve them. That's exactly the problem." Austin spoke quickly. "She doesn't mean your approval is a problem." "I think she does." Taylor placed her gloves beside her. "I mean, the power imbalance is a problem." I looked from her to Austin. "The power imbalance?" "You control the reception. I pay for the charter." "Which gives you control." "It gives me responsibility. You use that responsibility whenever you don't get your way." I set my mug on the side table. "What have I demanded?" "A memorial setting," I asked. "You questioned the seating." I asked where I was sitting. "You contacted Jonathan behind my back." I asked when the meeting was. She looked at Austin. "This is what I mean." He nodded slightly. That hurt more than if he'd spoken. I reached for my mug again. I didn't drink. I just held it. "When did you decide I shouldn't attend?" I asked. Taylor answered, "After the meeting." "Before or after you sent the guest review?" "Before." "So my name wasn't accidentally missing?" "No." The room became very quiet. There was the answer. I'd spent days wondering if I was overreacting to poor communication. There had been no mistake. She had removed me and still copied me on a request for money. "Who else knows?" I asked. "No one," Austin said. "Do your friends think I'm coming?" "Yes." Does Taylor's family? Taylor shifted on the sofa. We haven't announced anything. Announced? That was the wrong word, Austin said. What word would you use? We haven't discussed it. What do you plan to tell people? That you couldn't attend? Taylor said. I looked at her. That would be a lie. It avoids embarrassing anyone. Anyone? Austin leaned forward. Mom, please. No, I want to understand. You're removing me from your wedding, and I'm supposed to protect you from embarrassment. We aren't removing you from our lives, he said. Just the event I paid for. Taylor closed her eyes. There, you did it again. What? You brought up the money. Where should I bring it up? This isn't about money. Then why did you request another $600 this morning? She looked away. Austin stood. Can we lower the temperature? No one is shouting. I know, but this is going nowhere. I turned to him. Do you agree with her? With what? That my presence would spoil your wedding. Nobody said spoil. Taylor had used different words. Better if you don't come. Wrong energy. Too much tension. Cruelty often arrived wearing softer clothes. Austin, do you want me there? His face changed. He looked toward Taylor, then back at me. I want the day to be peaceful. That wasn't my question. It's not a simple question anymore. It is from this chair. Taylor stood and collected her gloves. We should go. Austin remained where he was. You haven't answered, I said. He put his coat on. That was his answer. At the door, Taylor turned back. We'll send you the live stream information. I held the doorknob. I didn't ask for that. It would let you see everything. From my house. She didn't reply. Austin kissed my cheek. His lips barely touched my skin. We'll talk tomorrow. I closed the door behind them. The welcome drink deadline passed that night. I didn't approve it. The next morning, Jonathan sent confirmation that the request had expired. The original package remained in place. That was a practical win. It didn't feel like one. I printed the message and locked it with the others. At 10, Austin called. I watched his name flash until the ringing stopped. He called again. This time I answered. Can I come by at lunch? He asked. You were here last night. I forgot something. What? I need to show you a form. My hand tightened around the phone. What form? It's not a big deal. Then email it. I'd rather explain. He arrived shortly after noon carrying a blue folder. I let him in. We sat at the kitchen table. He didn't ask for food. He opened the folder and removed a single page. Taylor talked to Jonathan about streamlining communication, he said. What does that mean? This would make her the main decision maker for the event. She's already the planning contact. This is different. I read the page. It was an amendment to the charter agreement. It transferred authority over event decisions and changes to Taylor. The original client remained responsible for payment. I read that part again. My money would stay attached. My voice would not. Did Jonathan prepare this? I asked. He sent a standard form after Taylor requested it. Yes. Does Jonathan know you've uninvited me? Austin's eyes lifted. That isn't relevant to him. It is to me. He pushed a pen across the table. You still wouldn't be responsible for random charges. Taylor would work within the package. That isn't what this says. She won't go crazy. I'm not signing. You haven't heard me out. I read it. It would solve a lot of the tension. For you. For everyone. That phrase is doing a lot of work lately. He leaned back. Mom, if you're not attending, there's no reason for every small decision to go through you. Then pay for your own charter. His face went pale. We can't do that now. I know. Are you threatening to pull it? No. Then why say that? Because you're asking me to keep the responsibility while giving Taylor control. It's our wedding. Then carry it. We made plans based on your gift. The original charter is still there, but you're making it impossible to manage. No, I'm making you ask. He pushed the pen closer. Please. I slid it back. No. He stared at me. For once, he couldn't soften the question and hand it to Taylor. He had brought the paper himself. He had placed it beside my tea. He knew exactly what it removed. What am I supposed to tell her? He asked. The truth. Which is? Your mother won't sign. He shoved the form into the folder. You're punishing us. I'm refusing an amendment. Because you're angry. Yes, Austin, I'm angry. He looked surprised by the answer. I continued. I'm also able to read. He stood. If this falls apart, that's on you. The charter hasn't changed. Everything around it has. He left without saying goodbye. I called Jonathan as soon as Austin's car pulled away. I was given an amendment, I said. Yes. Taylor requested the form. I won't sign it, understood. Can anyone change the agreement without my signature? No. Can Taylor approve added charges? Not under the current contract. Please keep it that way. I will. Do you need that request in writing? It would be helpful. I sent the email while we were still on the phone. Jonathan replied that no authority had been transferred. All contract decisions remained with me. I printed his confirmation. Then I opened the desk, placed Austin's unsigned amendment inside, and locked the drawer. That afternoon, Taylor posted a wedding update online. The photograph showed her and Austin at the landing. The North Star bell was behind them. Her caption thanked everyone who supported their vision. Near the end, she wrote that some people had chosen conflict over celebration, but they were protecting their peace. Austin had added a heart beneath it. I saved a copy. Then I sent him one message. If anyone asks why I'm absent, do not say I chose it. 3 dots appeared on my screen. They vanished. A minute later, Taylor called. I answered. What did you send Austin? She asked. The truth. You're accusing us of lying. I told him not to lie. My post didn't mention you. Then why are you calling? She took a breath. Because he's upset. He added a heart. He was trying to support me. He did. You saved the post, didn't you? Yes. Why? Because you're already changing the story. I said some people chose conflict. I didn't choose to miss the wedding. You chose to make your invitation conditional. No, you removed me. After you made everything about control. I walked into the small room and sat at my desk. What do you want, Taylor? I want you to stop documenting us like we're strangers. Then stop putting false things in writing. It wasn't false. Did I choose not to attend? You made it impossible to include you. That wasn't the question. She exhaled sharply. You're so determined to be the victim. I looked at the unsigned amendment inside my drawer. You came into my house and told me not to attend. Because we had no other choice. You had several. Name one. Tell me no when I offer help. Pay for the reception yourselves. Include me in planning. Put my name on the list. Tell Austin to answer his own mother. Her voice cracked then. Not loudly. Just enough to change the conversation. You have no idea what this wedding has been like for me. I waited. She sniffed. Every decision becomes a negotiation. My parents ask questions. Vendors miss deadlines. Austin avoids everything. Now you're making me feel like some terrible person because I want one peaceful day. What deadline did I cause you to miss? That isn't the point. You mentioned deadlines. The musician needs access. The linens need approval. Jonathan keeps copying you on things. Because I'm the client. There. Again. What answer would make you happy? Sign the form. No. She began crying. I heard it clearly. I also heard a drawer close in the background. She was at home, moving around while she spoke. Taylor, I said. Crying doesn't change the form. I'm not trying to manipulate you. I didn't say you were. You think everything I do has some motive. I think you called because I refused to transfer control. I called because this family is falling apart. Then ask Austin to come speak to me honestly. He tried. He brought a pen. She became quiet. I continued. Take down the post. Tell people I didn't choose this. I'm not posting family drama online. You already did. She ended the call. 10 minutes later, the post disappeared. That was useful, but it wasn't a correction. Anyone who had seen it still had her version. Austin called after dinner. What did you say to Taylor? I asked her to remove a false post. She's been crying all afternoon. She was crying when she called me. You sound cold. I'm tired. She thinks you hate her." "I don't." Could have fooled me. I put my cup in the sink. "Do you want to discuss the guest list?" "No." "The amendment?" "No." "Then why did you call?" "To tell you this needs to stop." "What needs to stop?" "The emails, the screenshots, calling Jonathan, making Taylor explain herself. I need the final guest count for the charter. She'll send it to Jonathan. I'm the client. I know you're the client." His voice rose on the last word. I waited until he lowered it. "Jonathan said the count is due 6 weeks before the wedding," I said. "That's coming soon. We have it handled. Then tell me the number." "I don't know it." "You called to defend a plan you haven't seen." "I trust my wife." "Do you trust her enough to pay the added charges?" "That's unfair. It's practical. She isn't trying to steal your money. I never said she was. You keep implying these awful things. I'm asking what the reception costs. You already know. I know what I agreed to." He made a frustrated sound. "This is exactly why we don't want you there." The sentence came out quickly. He heard it too. Neither of us spoke for a moment. Finally he said, "I didn't mean that. You did. I meant this behavior." "What behavior?" "Keeping score." I dried the water around the sink with a towel. "Austin, your father used to say something when our checkbook didn't balance. I don't want to talk about Dad." "Why?" "Because you use him to make me feel guilty." I was going to say, "He checked the figures again." "Well, don't." "All right, I have to go. Tell Taylor I still need the count." He hung up. The next morning, I cleared the dining table. I laid out the charter summary, the declined requests, the invitation, the program, and the unsigned amendment. I arranged them by date. I wasn't building a case. I needed to see whether I had missed something. The original reception was complete. The boat, crew, dinner, tables, white linens, and drinks were all included. The schedule worked without early access. The musicians could board during the time Jonathan offered. Nothing essential had been denied. I called Jonathan. "I need to understand what's actually outstanding," I said. He pulled up the file. "The final count is the main item. What about the other requests? The linen and beverage upgrades were declined. The added hour was declined. Earlier vendor access was not approved. But we offered the standard window. Does that prevent the musicians from performing? Not that I'm aware of. Has anyone told you the wedding can't proceed under the current agreement? No. Is anything in danger of being canceled? No, ma'am." I wrote each answer on a pad. "Then what do you need from me?" "Confirmation of the guest estimate by Monday." "What estimate do you have now?" Taylor updated it yesterday to 87. I looked at the earlier summary. It was 86. That's correct. And I'm no longer attending. He was quiet. "I'm sorry?" I should have realized he didn't know. "Austin and Taylor have asked me not to attend." Jonathan didn't speak for several seconds. When he did, his voice stayed professional. "I wasn't aware of that. Taylor is still the planning contact. I'm not asking you to involve yourself." "Understood. I only need accurate information. The current estimate is 87. Can she change the count without my approval? Within the package range, she can provide the planning estimate. You confirm the final number as client." "Does the number change my price?" "Not at 87. Then I'll confirm it when they confirm it to me. That's fine." After we hung up, he emailed a short list of everything outstanding. Only the final count required action from me. I forwarded it to Austin and Taylor. "Please confirm 87 guests by Sunday evening. I will send the client confirmation Monday." Taylor replied within minutes. "Jonathan had no right to discuss our guest list with you." I answered. "He discussed the count required under my agreement." She didn't respond. Austin arrived at my house that evening without calling. I was sweeping leaves from the front steps. The wind kept pushing them against the porch rail. He got out of his car and stood beside the walkway. "Did you tell Jonathan we uninvited you?" "I told him I wouldn't be attending." "Why?" "Because he asked nothing." I explained why I needed the count. "He thinks we're horrible now." "He didn't say that. He didn't have to." I kept sweeping. "You're embarrassed that he knows." It's none of his business. It became relevant when you asked me to manage the contract from home. You didn't have to say why. What should I have said? That you had another commitment. That would be a lie. He stepped onto the porch. Can you stop sweeping for 1 minute? I rested both hands on the broom. What? You're making this harder than it needs to be. For whom? For me. That was honest, at least. He looked tired. His tie was loose, and there was a coffee stain near his cuff. Taylor says you're investigating us. I reviewed the charter. You asked Jonathan what she requested. I asked what remained unfinished. That's the same thing. No, it isn't. She feels watched. She sends requests through a contract with my name on it. She's planning a wedding, not committing a crime. I know. Then stop acting suspicious. I moved the leaves away from his shoes. Why did the guest count increase? He frowned. What? There were 86 people before you removed me. Now there are 87. I don't know. Ask Taylor. Why does it matter? I need to confirm the number. You don't need the names. I didn't ask for names. His jaw tightened. Then confirm it. I will after you tell me it's correct. It's correct. You just said you didn't know. He turned away and walked to the porch rail. I waited. Finally, he said. Taylor added someone from work. One person and her husband. There was the missing arithmetic. They removed me, added 2 people, and increased the count by 1. I didn't know either guest. I didn't need to. The point wasn't who they were. There had been room. Did you agree? I asked. She wanted them there. Did you agree to remove me? We already talked about this. No. Taylor spoke. You avoided the question. He faced me. Yes. The word was quiet. I held the broom upright between my hands. You agreed? Yes. Before she sent the guest review? Yes. Why? His eyes moved toward the street. Because every time your name came up, we fought. What did you fight about? Whether you'd criticize things, whether you'd bring up Dad, whether you'd talk about the money. Did you defend me? He rubbed the back of his neck. I tried to calm her down. That isn't what I asked. I didn't want to choose. You did choose. His face tightened. I knew you'd be like this. Like what? Make me say everything in the worst possible way. I didn't choose the facts. He stepped off the porch. Confirm the count, Mom. I will. And please stop contacting Jonathan unless it's necessary. I'll decide what's necessary under my agreement. He shook his head. You're enjoying this control. I looked at the leaves gathered along the steps. No. He opened his car door. Before he got in, I said, Tell Taylor I know there was room. He froze. Don't do that. Why? Because she'll know I told you. You did tell me. I came here to fix things. You came for the count. He got into the car and left. On Sunday evening, Taylor emailed one line. The final guest estimate is 87. I confirmed that number to Jonathan the next morning. The required task was finished. The reception could proceed exactly as contracted. An hour later, Taylor sent me a separate message. You got what you wanted. Now everyone knows. I read it twice. Then another message arrived. If people ask why you aren't there, we will tell them your financial conditions made your attendance impossible. I saved both messages. My new task was no longer finding out whether there had been room. It was making sure my son didn't hide his choice behind my money. I wrote the sentence on a sheet of paper. Then I wrote the order beneath it. They removed my name. I refused additions. They blamed the refusal. Seeing it in that order helped. I replied to Taylor, I imposed no financial condition on my attendance. You removed me before I declined any required expense. Do not tell people otherwise. She didn't answer. That afternoon, Austin posted a message on their wedding page. It was longer than Taylor's earlier post. He wrote that weddings sometimes revealed painful family dynamics. He said they had been forced to set boundaries after financial help became tied to control. He never used my name. He didn't need to. The page was visible to their guests. My husband's relatives knew who had paid for the reception. Some of Austin's friends knew too. I read the message at my kitchen table. Then I saw the comments. Most were general. Protect your peace. Your day should be about you. Don't let anyone ruin this. One person wrote, "Gifts shouldn't come with strings." Austin liked that comment. I put my phone face down. The room felt too quiet, so I turned on the radio. A man was discussing road repairs near the river. I listened for 10 minutes without hearing a word. Then my phone rang. It was Taylor's mother. We'd spoken several times before. Our conversations were usually about menus, flowers, or arrival times. She had never called just to talk. "Patricia," she began, "I hope you don't mind me reaching out. What can I do for you? I'm worried about the kids." "They're not kids." "You know what I mean, yes?" She cleared her throat. "Taylor is devastated. I'm sorry to hear that. She says the reception might be at risk. Why? Because you won't release the contract." I sat straighter. The original contract remains in place. That isn't what she understood. What did she understand? That you might take the boat away if they don't include you? I looked toward my desk. "I never said that." She said Austin came home terrified. Of what? That you would cancel everything. The words settled between us. I hadn't discussed canceling the charter. I hadn't asked how to do it. I had only refused to transfer authority. "Did Austin tell you I threatened that?" I asked. She said he was very upset. That wasn't my question. Taylor's mother hesitated. "I wasn't there. Neither was Taylor when Austin brought the amendment. I'm not trying to choose sides. Then don't carry messages for one. I'm trying to save their wedding. Their reception is booked. Their guest count is confirmed. Nothing required is missing. Then why not sign the form? Because it leaves me responsible for decisions I can't make. They aren't going to take advantage. They already removed me from the event." Her voice became quieter. "I don't agree with that." "Did you tell Taylor?" I told her this has gone too far. What did she say? That my opinion would be different if I knew everything. What don't you know? She wouldn't say. That was useful. Taylor's own mother hadn't been given a reason either. She had only been given a warning about me. "I appreciate you calling," I said, "but the charter is intact." Can I tell her that? She already knows. She doesn't feel secure. Signing away my authority would make her feel secure. I suppose. It wouldn't make me secure. She sighed. "I wish you could all sit down." I asked Austin to speak honestly. He's caught between two strong women. No, he's standing beside his wife. He just doesn't want to say it. She went quiet. "I'm sorry," she said. I believed that part. After we hung up, I checked the wedding page again. The message remained. 2 more people had commented. I took screenshots. Then I closed the page. That evening, I called Austin. He rejected the call. I tried once more. He answered. "What now? Remove the post. It doesn't name you. People know. Maybe they know because you keep telling everyone. I told Jonathan I wouldn't attend. I told no one else. You told Taylor's mother. She called me." He muttered something. "Did Taylor send her?" I asked. She was worried. "Because you told her the charter was at risk." "It is at risk." "No, it isn't. You told me to pay for it myself. When you asked me to surrender control." That sounded like a threat. It was an answer. What's the difference? The agreement remains exactly as signed, but you could change your mind any time. I didn't know if that was true. He didn't either. "What did Taylor tell you?" I asked. "She said you're collecting documents and preparing to ruin us. I print my financial records. You saved her post. Because it was false. You called Jonathan. Because I'm the client." He raised his voice. "You love saying that. I don't love any part of this. Then fix it. How? Sign the amendment. Let us run our wedding. Stop making everything about what you paid. And remain home. You know why that happened. Because you agreed to it. I was trying to protect my marriage. From your mother attending your wedding. From constant conflict. Then correct the post. No. Why? Because it's true." I looked at the written order on my table. "Come here tomorrow," I said. "Bring Taylor." "For what?" "One conversation. We've had enough conversations. Then this one can be short." He didn't agree. He also didn't refuse. They arrived the next evening. Austin used his key. I was in the small room when I heard the front door open. For a moment, I thought I had forgotten to lock it. Then Austin called, "Mom!" I stepped into the hallway. "You should knock. You told us to come. That doesn't mean enter without asking." He looked at the key in his hand. "I've always used this." "Yes." Taylor stood behind him with her arms folded. "We're here," she said. I led them into the kitchen. No tea, no cake, no invoices. The printed wedding page lay in the center of the table. Taylor sat first. "I'm not apologizing for that," she said. "I didn't ask you to." Austin remained standing. "Then what are we doing?" I looked at him. "I want you to correct 3 things. He pulled out a chair. "What things?" "Tell Taylor that you agreed to remove me. She knows. Say it." He glanced at her. Taylor's expression didn't change. Austin sat. "I agreed. Tell her I never threatened to cancel the charter." He rubbed his jaw. "You said we should pay for it ourselves. After you asked me to transfer authority." That still sounded like a threat. Did I say I would cancel? No. "Then tell her." Taylor interrupted. "I know exactly what you said. You weren't here. Austin told me. That's why he needs to correct it." Austin looked toward the window. "I may have made it sound more definite." "How definite?" I asked. He didn't answer. Taylor did. "You told him to pay for his own reception. I told him to carry it if he wanted complete control. That's the same thing." "No." The original charter stayed. Austin pressed both hands flat on the table. "Okay, fine. You didn't directly threaten to cancel. Thank you. What's the 3rd thing?" I placed the unsigned amendment beside the printed post. "If you want me at your wedding, restore my place in front of Taylor. Tell her removing me was wrong. Correct the story you posted. Do it without asking me to approve another $1." Taylor laughed once. It was short and hard. "So this is a loyalty test." "No, that's exactly what it is." I kept looking at Austin. He understood what I was asking. Not another invitation quietly left on my table. Not a seat offered because I had frightened them. I wanted my son to say, in the room where he had surrendered me, that I belonged there. His face reddened. "You want me to humiliate my wife. I want you to correct your decision. Our decision. Then correct your part." Taylor pushed back her chair. "I'm not sitting here while you turn him against me." I didn't stop her. She walked into the living room. Austin lowered his voice. "You knew she wouldn't accept that." "I was asking you, what am I supposed to do? Tell my wife she has no say at her own wedding? Tell her your mother isn't a removable expense. You always bring it back to money. You brought me a form that kept my money and removed my authority. Because you were using it to interfere. I declined extras. You withheld them to punish us. Would you have included me if I approved everything?" He looked toward the living room. I waited. "No," he said. There was the true scale of it. No amount of cooperation would have restored my place. They didn't want agreement. They wanted access. Austin continued. "Taylor doesn't feel comfortable with you there now. And you? I'm not going against my wife. Then say that publicly. I'm not airing our family business. You already did." He stood. "You're impossible." I slid the printed page toward him. "Remove it. No, correct it. No, restore my place. Not under these conditions." "What conditions?" "You want me to perform some apology before you'll stop holding money over us." I said, "Don't ask me for another $1. Exactly. He pointed at the unsigned amendment. "You're using the contract to control our wedding." "No, I'm refusing to let you use it without me." He walked toward the front door. Taylor joined him. Before Austin opened it, I held out my hand. The key. He stared at me. "What?" "My house key." "You're serious?" "Yes." "Because I came in without knocking?" "Because you no longer know the difference between access and permission." Taylor looked away. Austin removed the key from his ring. He set it in my palm. The metal was warm. "You're cutting me out now," he said. "No. You can visit when I open the door. That's the same thing." "It isn't. You taught me that." His face changed, but he didn't answer. They left. I locked the door behind them. Taking back the key cost more than I expected. For years, its place on Austin's ring had meant someone could reach me in an emergency. It meant my son still had a home at Pine Street. Now he would have to knock. I returned to the kitchen and picked up the blue dress box from beneath the side table. I had planned to wear that dress when I watched him marry. I carried it upstairs and placed it at the back of my closet. I no longer wanted Taylor to put my name back quietly. I no longer wanted Austin to find me a chair and call the problem solved. A seat was too small. I wanted the use of me to stop. I went downstairs, opened my notebook, and wrote a new boundary. No more requests through guilt. No more false version left unanswered. No access without consent. Then I turned off the porch light, though Austin's car was still parked at the curb. They stayed there for another 10 minutes. I didn't go outside. Austin finally started the car. Its headlights moved across my curtains, then disappeared down Pine Street. The next morning, I wrote one email. I sent it to Austin, Taylor, and Jonathan. The original charter remains in place. I will approve no additional charges. Taylor may continue planning within the existing package. Any optional items must be arranged and paid for separately by Austin and Taylor. Please keep all charter requests in writing. I read it once before sending. There was no mention of my invitation, no demand for an apology, no question for Austin to avoid. Jonathan replied first, "Understood. The existing package is complete. I will close all pending upgrade requests and require separate payment for any new optional service." Taylor replied to everyone. "Are you saying you won't even review requests?" I answered. "That is correct. What if something is necessary?" Jonathan confirmed the package is complete. She removed him from her next reply. "So you're deliberately freezing the event at the cheapest level." I added him back. "The charter was purchased as presented. Please identify any required item that is missing." Jonathan answered before she could. "No required charter item is missing." That ended the discussion. By noon, he sent a revised event summary. Every pending upgrade showed closed. White linens remained. Standard boarding time remained. The original beverage package remained. There was nothing Taylor could send me later with an urgent deadline. There was nothing Austin could place beside my dinner plate. The reception was paid. Future charges had stopped. At 3, Taylor called. I let it ring. She called again. I sent one message. "Please email anything about the charter." Her answer came immediately. "You're refusing to speak to me now?" I didn't reply. That evening, Austin knocked. The sound startled me. He had never needed to knock before. I looked through the front window. He stood alone on the porch with both hands in his coat pockets. I opened the door. "Can I come in?" "Yes." He stepped inside and waited while I locked the door. His eyes followed my hand. "You think I'm going to do something?" I locked my door. "You never locked it when I was here. You had a key." He took off his coat but kept it over his arm. "Can we sit?" We went to the kitchen. I was making vegetable soup. The onions and celery were already soft. I returned to the stove and added broth. Austin sat at the table. "Taylor thinks you're trying to humiliate her. I'm making soup. You know what I mean. I stopped extra charges. You copied Jonathan on everything. He belongs on charter emails. You made him correct her. He answered a question." Austin watched me stir the pot. The white linens looked terrible. "They looked fine when we toured the boat. They're plain." "Then rent different linens yourself. We may have to. That's what my email said." He rubbed his hands together. "I don't understand why you're acting like this." I explained it. "No, you listed rules. They're easier to follow. We're still family. Yes, family members talk. You posted instead." His face tightened. I took it down. Taylor took hers down. "Yours is still there. It doesn't name you." I turned off the burner. "Did you come to remove it?" "I came with a compromise." I sat across from him. "What compromise?" He looked relieved that I had asked. "You can attend the ceremony." I waited. "That's it?" he said. "You haven't finished. You can attend the ceremony. We'll reserve a seat near the back. Afterward, you can greet us outside before we leave for the landing." And the reception. We're keeping that boundary. I looked at my son. He had come into my kitchen and offered me a place near the back of his wedding. Then I could stand outside while he left for the boat I had paid for. Whose idea was this? We discussed it together. Did you tell Taylor you wanted me there? I said this might calm things down. That wasn't my question. He leaned back. Why can't you accept anything? Because that isn't an invitation. It is. It's crowd control. That's insulting. Yes, Austin, it is. I meant what you said, I know. He stood and walked toward the counter. You wanted me to restore your place. In front of Taylor. This is the place she agreed to. I'm not asking anymore. He turned. What does that mean? It means I don't want a seat negotiated after you remove every part that makes it family. You'd rather miss the whole thing? I'd rather you tell the truth. There's always one more condition. No, there's one answer you don't want to give. He stared at the soup pot. Then he said, would you sign the amendment if we let you come to the ceremony? No. It would help. No. You wouldn't need to deal with Jonathan anymore. I don't mind dealing with Jonathan. You could just show up and enjoy the ceremony. From the back. It's a small venue. That wasn't the reason. He looked away. What do you want me to tell Taylor? That I declined. So you can say we excluded you again. I won't say anything unless someone asks. And then I'll answer accurately. His shoulders dropped. You're putting me in an impossible position. I'm sitting in my own kitchen. I can't win with you. This isn't about winning. It feels like it. I stood and took a container from the cupboard. For 1 second, my hand reached for the larger size. I stopped and chose the smaller one. I filled it with soup. Austin watched. You don't have to do that, I know. I put the lid on and handed it to him. He accepted it carefully. Thanks, you're welcome. He put on his coat. At the door, he paused. Taylor's going to rent the linens herself. That's her choice. She'll probably have to cut something else. That's budgeting. You really don't care. I care enough not to pretend she can spend my money after removing me. He opened the door. Please remove your post, I said. He looked back. Please sign the form. No? Then I guess we both said no. He left. I locked the door after him, then returned to the stove. The soup had cooled enough to form a thin skin across the top. I stirred it back in and ate one bowl at the kitchen table. The following week was quiet. I went to the grocery store. I took my winter coats to the cleaner. I replaced a loose hinge on the pantry door. On Wednesday, I removed Austin's old coffee mug from the front shelf. I didn't throw it away. I moved it behind the larger cups. That small change made the kitchen feel unfamiliar. Thursday morning, Jonathan sent the final charter order. He copied all 3 of us. The document listed the boarding window, dinner service, table count, and guest estimate. It showed no optional charges. At the bottom, it said all future additions required separate payment before service. Taylor responded, "We will handle our own linens." Jonathan wrote, "Noted." Then she asked whether the charter company could accept payment from her for extra crew time. He said yes if she completed it by the vendor deadline. I didn't object. My boundary wasn't that Taylor could have nothing. It was that she couldn't have it through me. Later that day, another email arrived from Jonathan. Taylor had paid for 30 minutes of additional vendor access herself. The change did not touch my agreement. I read the confirmation twice. It was the first wedding expense I had seen Taylor carry after asking me to step aside. I printed nothing. There was no reason to store her receipt in my desk. That evening, she sent me a message. "I hope you're satisfied," I wrote back. "I'm glad you arranged what you wanted. You made us pay twice. I paid for the standard access. You paid for additional time. You know what I mean." I did know. For Taylor, my money had become part of the wedding before I did. Removing it felt like taking something from her. I didn't answer. 2 days later, I found a padded envelope on my porch. Inside was the soup container, washed and dry. Austin had also returned 3 other containers I hadn't realized he still had. There was no note. I carried them into the kitchen and stacked them in the cupboard. The next Sunday, he called at our usual dinner time. I answered. "Are you cooking?" he asked. "Yes." "What are you making?" "Chicken." He waited. Normally, that was where I invited him. "Sounds good," he said. "It is." Another pause. "Taylor's with her parents." "All right, I was thinking maybe I could stop by. Do you want to visit me?" "What? Do you want to see me or do you want dinner?" "That's a strange question. It's a direct one. Can it be both?" "Yes, then both." I looked at the second place setting I had almost placed on the table. "Knock when you arrive." He came 30 minutes later. He knocked. I opened the door and let him in. We ate without discussing the wedding for the first 15 minutes. He asked about the pantry hinge. I asked about his work. He told me a project was behind schedule. It felt almost normal. Then he put down his fork. "Taylor wants to send an explanation to the guests." "What explanation?" "About why you won't be there." "She doesn't need to. People are asking. What have you told them?" "That it's private." "That's enough." "She thinks silence makes it look like we did something wrong." "You did." He leaned back. "I knew this dinner was too easy. You brought up the wedding. I'm warning you." "About what?" "She has screenshots, too." "Of what?" "Your emails about money. Your refusal to approve things. The message telling me to pay for the reception myself." I put my fork down. "Is she planning to send them?" "She wants people to understand the context. Will she include the dates?" "What?" "The order." "Will she show that you removed me before those messages?" He looked at his plate. "I don't know. Ask her. She says you're preparing some public attack. I haven't contacted a single guest. You saved everything." "For myself?" "She doesn't believe that." "What do you believe?" He rubbed his thumb along the edge of the table. "I think you want proof in case this gets ugly. It is already ugly. Then maybe everyone should see everything." I studied his face. He didn't sound frightened anymore. He sounded defensive. Taylor had found the part of my strategy she could target. If written records protected me, she would turn selected records into weapons. "Tell her one thing," I said. "What?" "If she sends anything about me, it must be complete." He gave a tired laugh. "You don't get to set rules for her." "No, but I can correct what she leaves out." His eyes lifted. "So you are planning to go public?" "I'm planning to tell the truth if you make it necessary." He pushed his chair back. "There it is." I remained seated. "No, Austin. There you are." He stood, left half his chicken untouched, and walked to the front door. This time, he didn't take a container. An hour later, Taylor emailed me. Austin was copied. The subject line said, "Final opportunity to resolve privately." Attached was a draft message addressed to every wedding guest. I opened the attachment. The message began politely. It said Austin and Taylor had tried to protect a private family matter. It said continued financial pressure made silence impossible. Then it claimed my attendance had become tied to my demands for control. 3 screenshots appeared below the statement. The first showed my refusal to approve additions. The second showed my message telling Austin to pay for his own charter if he wanted complete control. The third showed my request that he not lie about why I was absent. The dates were visible. The earlier messages were not. There was no screenshot of Taylor removing my name. There was no unsigned amendment. There was no message threatening to blame my financial conditions. At the bottom, Taylor had written that they were moving forward with love and firm boundaries. Her email to me included one sentence: "Sign the transfer by noon tomorrow, and this stays private." I read it again. That wasn't an offer to resolve anything. It was pressure with a deadline. I replied to both of them. The draft omits that you removed me before I declined further spending. It also omits the amendment leaving me financially responsible while transferring authority. Do not send a false account, Taylor answered. It includes your own words, then include yours. We aren't publishing private messages. You attached 3, only those necessary to explain your actions. I added Austin. Did you approve this? He didn't answer. I called him. He rejected the call. I tried once more. This time, he answered. I'm not discussing it by phone, he said. You're preparing to discuss it with 87 guests. Taylor wants to protect us. From what? Whatever you're planning. What am I planning? You tell me. I've told you. The original reception remains. I won't pay more. I won't accept your false story. That sounds simple when you say it. It is simple. No, Mom. You have a folder full of things. You're tracking every conversation because your wife changes them afterward. She documents things too, selectively. He lowered his voice. If you sign the amendment, she won't send the message, and I still won't attend. We offered the ceremony. From the back, it was a compromise. It was a place to keep me quiet. He sighed. I can't keep doing this. Then correct the draft. I helped write it. My fingers tightened around the phone. You wrote that I tied money to my attendance. You did. When? When you refused the upgrades. I was still invited when I refused the first upgrades. That's not how Taylor remembers it. You were there, not for every conversation. You were there when she told me not to attend. He became quiet. I waited. Finally, he said, You said the reception should be ours to carry. After you removed me, you keep arranging the order so you look innocent. The order happened without my help. His breathing changed. I could tell he was walking. If you send a correction, he said, you'll only prove our point. I haven't sent anything, but you will. If you send this draft, I'll answer anyone who asks. There, that's a threat. No, that's notice. Same thing. Did you read Taylor's sentence about noon? He didn't answer. That is a threat, Austin. She's giving you a chance to surrender a contract after being excluded, to stop controlling us. I looked at the clock. It was almost 10. What happens if I don't sign? We send the message. And if I sign, we keep it private. You still keep the money. It was a gift. You still keep me out. You made that necessary. I close my eyes, then send whatever you're willing to put your name on. He went silent. Are you sure? He asked. No. But I won't sign. You're choosing this. No, I'm refusing the choice you built. He hung up. At 11 the next morning, Taylor sent a reminder. 45 minutes remain. I placed the phone beside my mug. At noon, nothing happened. At 12:15, I received an email from the wedding page. Austin and Taylor had posted an update. The draft appeared exactly as written. By 12:30, my phone began ringing. I ignored the first 2 calls. Then my sister-in-law's name appeared. She was my husband's sister. She had known me longer than Taylor had been alive. I answered. Patricia, she said, what in the world is going on? You received the message. Everyone did. I looked out my kitchen window. A squirrel was pulling at the bird feeder. Do you believe it? I asked. I don't know what to believe. That's why they sent it. She exhaled. Austin says you threatened the reception. I didn't. The screenshot says they should pay for their own charter after he asked me to sign away control while keeping the payment in my name. He didn't include that. No. Why would he leave that out? You'd have to ask him. She was quiet. Are you really not going to the wedding? They told me not to attend. The message says you rejected a compromise. They offered me a seat near the back for the ceremony. I would have to leave before the reception. Oh. That single word changed her voice. I continued. I asked Austin to restore my place openly and correct the reason. He refused. I wish you'd called me. What would you have done? I don't know. Neither do I. She lowered her voice. I'm still going. I didn't ask you not to. I know. I just don't want you to hear it from someone else. Thank you. Could you send me the amendment? I looked toward my desk. No. Why not? Because I won't recruit you. I'm trying to understand. Then ask Austin for the complete exchange. She didn't like that answer. I feel caught in the middle. I didn't put you there. We ended the call politely. 5 minutes later, another message arrived. It came from one of my husband's old friends. He wrote that money should never divide a family. I replied with 2 sentences. I agree. I was removed from the wedding before I stopped approving additions. I have not canceled or threatened the original reception. He didn't answer. A woman I knew from church sent a prayer symbol. Someone else asked if I wanted them to speak to Austin. I said no. By mid-afternoon, people had chosen what felt comfortable to believe. Some thought Austin's message sounded incomplete. Others thought a mother should accept any invitation her son offered. Nobody had been in my kitchen. Nobody had watched him slide that amendment toward me. The damage wasn't that everyone believed Taylor. The damage was that my private hurt had become a subject people could discuss while buying wedding gifts. At 4, I called Austin. The call went directly to voicemail. I sent one message. You had a chance to tell the complete truth. You chose selected screenshots. Do not tell anyone I threatened the charter. The message showed as delivered. Then it disappeared from the conversation. I tried calling once more. Voicemail. He'd blocked me. I sat at the kitchen table with the phone in my hand. My son had removed me from the wedding. Now he had removed my ability to reach him. I didn't cry immediately. I carried the lunch plate to the sink. I rinsed it. I wiped the counter. Then I noticed I had put the clean plate in the refrigerator instead of the cupboard. I took it out and held it against my chest. That was when I cried. Not loudly. I stood in front of the open refrigerator until cold air touched my face. Then I put the plate away properly and closed the door. By evening, the wedding page had more comments. Taylor's mother had written, "We love you both." My sister-in-law had written nothing. Austin liked every message supporting their boundary. I saved the full page. Then I stopped looking. The next day, I drove to the river. I didn't contact Jonathan. I didn't enter the charter office. I parked where I could see the North Star bell. Workers were carrying boxes aboard. A man rolled a cart down the dock. The boat looked exactly as it had the day I signed. For months, I had thought keeping the charter intact proved my love for Austin. Now it proved something else. They believed the boat belonged to them because I had paid for it. They believed my responsibility would continue after my place disappeared. Every time I refused more, they called it control. Every time they used what I had already provided, they called it a gift. I stayed in the car until the workers finished. Then I drove home. I unlocked the desk and removed the charter agreement. It was longer than I remembered. I had listened when Jonathan explained it, but most of my attention that day had been on Austin's happiness. I read every page: weather, vendor access, damage, guest conduct, boarding time. Near the end, I found a section titled Client Cancellation. The language was simple enough. The contracting client could cancel the private charter before departure by giving written notice. If the client canceled, all payments already made would be kept by the charter company. No refund. I read the section 3 times. Then I checked the signature page. My name was the only client name. Taylor appeared nowhere. Austin appeared nowhere. I didn't feel powerful. I felt the weight of $28,000. That money represented years of saving. It represented lunches packed at home and vacations planned carefully. My husband had helped earn it. I had protected it after he died. Canceling would not return it to me. It would not punish Austin and reward me. The money would simply be gone. I carried the agreement to the kitchen table. For an hour, I tried to find another answer. I could leave the reception intact and stay home. That was the easier financial choice. I could send every guest the full record. That might correct my reputation, but the boat would still sail with my son aboard and my name absent. I could sign the amendment and stop hearing from them. That would teach them exactly what they already believed. I returned to the cancellation section. The clause said before departure. It didn't explain whom I should contact at the landing. It didn't say whether an email was enough on the wedding day. I needed Jonathan to tell me what the words meant in practice. I placed a yellow tab beside the paragraph. Then I took out a blank sheet of paper and wrote 4 questions. Was I still the sole client? Could I cancel before the boat left? What form of notice was required? Would I lose the entire fee? I already knew what the page appeared to say. I wanted no misunderstanding. Beneath the questions, I wrote the amount in words: $28,000. I left it there for the rest of the evening. Before bed, I opened my savings records. I looked at the balance. Then I looked at the photograph of my husband beside the desk. He had never liked wasting money. Neither had I. But waste wasn't always measured by what left an account. Sometimes it was what you kept paying to preserve. I closed the records and put the photograph back. Then I returned to the agreement. If Jonathan confirmed the clause, I was prepared to lose every dollar. The next morning, I called Jonathan before I could talk myself out of it. "Do you have time to meet privately?" I asked. "Is this about the charter?" "Yes. I can see you at 10:30. I placed the 4 questions inside my handbag. Then I returned the agreement to its folder and carried it with me. Jonathan closed the office door after I arrived. The North Star Belle was out on the river. Through the window, I could see an empty section of dock. He pointed to the chair across from his desk. "What can I clarify?" I placed the agreement between us and opened it to the yellow tab. "I need you to explain this section." He read the paragraph, though I knew he recognized it. "What part concerns you? Am I still the sole client?" "Yes." "Even though Taylor is the planning contact?" "Yes." "She can coordinate ordinary event details. She cannot change the contract. Did the amendment Austin brought me change anything? Not without your signature. I didn't sign it." Then nothing changed. I checked the first question. "If I cancel before departure, does that end the charter?" "Yes." "Even on the event date?" "As long as notice is received before the vessel departs." "Does before departure mean before guests board?" "No. It means before we leave the dock." I looked through the window again. "And if guests are already aboard?" He leaned back slightly. "If the contracting client cancels while we are still docked, the private charter ends." "What happens to the guests?" "They disembark." "Immediately?" "We would give them a reasonable amount of time to collect personal belongings. Then the vessel would be cleared. Would the boat still take them out if someone else offered payment? Not under your charter. What if Taylor tried to sign a new agreement at the dock?" Jonathan considered his answer. "We wouldn't create a new same-day charter while canceling an existing event. We also require advance arrangements, staffing, and payment." I checked the second question. "What form of notice do you require?" "Written notice from you. We verify your identity and confirm receipt." "An email?" "An email can work if we can verify it came from you. In person, a signed notice is cleaner." "Who receives it?" "I can." "Will you be there on the wedding day?" "Yes." I manage charter departures. That removed the largest uncertainty. I checked the third question. Would I lose the full amount? Yes. No refund at all? No. Not even if the boat never leaves? The fee is retained under client cancellation. The crew, vessel, food service, and schedule were reserved. I understand. He looked at me for several seconds. "Mrs. Coleman, are you considering canceling?" "I'm considering what remains under my control." He nodded once. "I'm not asking for personal details. I need to make sure you understand the result." "I do. Once we receive a valid cancellation, the charter ends. I can't treat it as a family argument and wait for someone to change your mind. That's what I need." He folded his hands on the desk. "I also can't mediate between you and the couple." "I'm not asking you to. If you cancel, I will execute the contract. Nothing more. That's all I expect." He turned the agreement toward himself. "If you decide to proceed, identify the charter date, the vessel, your full name, and your request to cancel before departure. Sign and date it." "Do I need a reason?" "No." "Do Austin or Taylor need advance notice?" "Not from us before we process your instruction." "Would you contact them afterward?" "They would be informed at the vessel because their event could not proceed." I put my pen down. "What if they object? I would confirm that you are the client. And then they would have to leave." His answer carried no satisfaction. It was an ordinary procedure to him. That helped. I wasn't asking him to choose me over my son. I was asking whether the agreement meant what it said. Jonathan copied the cancellation section and handed it to me. "This is for your records." "Thank you." He stood, then paused. "You don't have to tell me what you decide today. I haven't decided when. He understood the difference. I left the office with the agreement in my handbag. On the drive home, I passed the ceremony venue. I didn't slow down. At Pine Street, I placed the folder on the kitchen table and made lunch. I sliced a tomato. I toasted bread. I ate without checking my phone. Afterward, I wrote the cancellation notice. I kept it plain. I named myself, the North Star Bell, and the charter date. I wrote that I was canceling the private charter before departure under the client cancellation section. I left the date and signature blank. Then I placed the notice inside the folder. For the rest of that week, I went on with my ordinary life. I watered the plants on my porch. I picked up my cleaned coats. I changed the sheets in the upstairs room. The blue dress stayed in the closet. Austin did not call. His post remained on the wedding page. On Friday evening, Taylor sent a final event email. She copied me because the charter details were included. The message listed arrival times and parking instructions. It told guests to board promptly after the ceremony. Near the bottom, it said family tensions had been handled and no one should engage with outside negativity. I read that phrase twice. Outside negativity. That was what I had become. The woman at Pine Street. The name on the agreement. The person expected to stay outside. Every guest's email address appeared in the message. Taylor had failed to hide the list. I could have answered everyone. I had the screenshots. I had the amendment. I had Jonathan's confirmation that no required service was missing. I opened a new message and pasted the guest addresses into the recipient line. Then I attached the full sequence. My finger rested above the send button. If I sent it, Austin would wake to questions. Taylor would spend the final days defending herself. Guests would arrive already watching them. Part of me wanted that. I wanted someone else to ask Austin the questions he had refused at my table. Then I looked at the cancellation notice beside my computer. Sending every private message wouldn't stop them from using the reception. It would spread the wound without changing the arrangement. I removed the attachments, then I deleted the draft. I would not chase 87 people for a verdict. I would deal only with what I controlled. The following afternoon, Taylor called from a number I didn't recognize. I answered because I thought it might be the cleaner. Patricia. I nearly ended the call. What do you need? I want to know whether you're planning something. What kind of thing? You know. No. Austin thinks you've gone quiet because you're done fighting. What do you think? I think you're waiting. I looked at the folder on my table. The charter hasn't changed. That isn't an answer. It's the only answer I'm giving. She lowered her voice. My parents have put money into this wedding. Vendors have worked for months. People are traveling, I know. If you interfere now, it won't only affect us. What do you mean by interfere? Contacting guests, showing up, creating some scene. I haven't contacted any guest. Will you promise not to? No. Why not? Because I won't promise silence while you publish selected messages. So you do intend to send something. I didn't say that. You're enjoying making me nervous. No. You could end all of this by telling me what you plan to do. You removed me from the planning. This is different. Yes. She paused. Then her voice changed. It became warmer. We could still find a way forward. What way? You could watch the live stream. We could visit you after the honeymoon. Maybe have a private dinner. You already offered a screen. I'm trying to make peace. Peace would include the truth. Not everything needs to be public. Your version did. She sighed. I shouldn't have sent the screenshots. That was the closest she had come to admitting anything. Then correct them, I said. I can't do that without making Austin look weak. He chose them too. He's your son. Yes. Do you really want to damage him over one day? I looked at the photograph beside my desk. No. Then let this go. I can't. Can't or won't. Both. Her warmth disappeared. If you show up at the landing, you won't be allowed aboard. I heard you the first time. I'm serious. So am I. She ended the call. I wrote down the number she had used, then added the time and date. That night, Austin unblocked me. He sent one message. Taylor says you may come to the ceremony if you agree to leave afterward and make no contact with guests. I didn't answer. An hour later, he sent another. This is the last offer. I placed the phone face down. He still believed the issue was getting me near him, a chair, a doorway, a glimpse before they drove away. He hadn't understood that I no longer wanted entry under terms that kept the arrangement intact. The next morning, I drove to St. Croix Landing again. This time, I parked near the public walkway and timed the walk to the charter office. It took less than 3 minutes. Jonathan saw me through the window. I didn't go inside. I raised one hand. He nodded and returned to his work. I walked to the edge of the dock. The North Star bell was tied in its usual place. Crew members moved between the decks. The gangway was wide enough for 2 people to pass, but someone standing in the middle could block it. I noticed where guests would gather. I noticed where Taylor's tripod would likely stand if she streamed boarding. I didn't know she would point it toward me. I only knew she liked turning private moments into carefully framed pictures. Back home, I removed the agreement and cancellation notice from the folder. I signed the notice. I left the date blank. Then I made 2 copies. One stayed in my locked desk. The signed original went into the folder with the agreement and my identification. I placed the folder beside my handbag. The wedding was Saturday. Until the boat departed, Austin still had time to correct what he had done. I wouldn't call him again. I wouldn't ask for a seat. I wouldn't warn him about the folder. If he chose the reception exactly as Taylor had arranged it, I would make my choice at the dock. Using the agreement would cost the entire fee. It would probably cost whatever remained between my son and me, too. I put my car keys on top of the folder and accepted both. Saturday morning was clear and cold. I woke before 6. I showered, made coffee, and dressed in dark pants and a gray sweater. The blue dress remained upstairs. At 9, I checked my phone. Nothing from Austin. At 10:30, I carried the folder into the kitchen. I added the date to the signed notice and put it back inside. Then I waited. The message arrived at 11:17. Austin sent no greeting. There was a link to the wedding Livestream. Beneath it, he had written, "This is as close as you're getting." I sat at the kitchen table. For a few seconds, I only looked at his words. Then I opened the link. The picture turned sideways before filling the screen. Taylor's phone was mounted on a small tripod aboard the North Star bell. The ceremony had ended. Guests were arriving at the landing and walking across the gangway. White flowers lined the railings. The linens visible through the windows were ivory with gold runners. Taylor had rented what she wanted. A woman held Taylor's dress away from the deck while she adjusted the phone. Taylor looked into the camera. "We're boarding now," she said. "We're focusing on the people who came with love." Someone behind her cheered. She smiled. Austin stepped into view. He kissed her cheek, then looked at the phone. For 1 second, I wondered if he knew I was watching. He did. "Everybody who matters is here," Taylor said. Austin didn't correct her. That was enough. I closed the live stream, placed the phone in my handbag, and picked up the folder. The drive to St. Croix Landing took less than 20 minutes. I obeyed every speed limit. At a red light, my phone buzzed inside my bag. I didn't reach for it. When I entered the landing lot, I could see the upper deck above the parked cars. Music carried across the water. Guests were still boarding. I parked near the public walkway and took out my phone. The live stream was still running. Taylor had turned the tripod toward the gangway. Guests passed the camera one at a time, smiling and waving. I put the phone back in my bag. Then I carried the folder toward the dock. One of the guests recognized me near the office. Her smile faded, but she didn't say anything. Another person turned toward the boat and whispered. By the time I reached the start of the gangway, Austin was coming down. He moved quickly. "Mom!" I stopped. He stood in the center of the gangway, blocking it exactly as I had imagined someone could. "What are you doing here?" he asked. "I need to speak with Jonathan." Austin looked at the folder. "About what?" "That's between Jonathan and me. You can't come aboard." "I didn't ask to." Taylor appeared behind him. She still wore her wedding dress. One hand held the railing. The other pointed toward me. "I told you she'd do this," she said. Austin glanced back. "Taylor, stay there." "No. People need to see." She stepped onto the dock and walked to the tripod. She lifted the phone, checked the screen, and aimed it toward me. The live stream was still running. "Taylor," Austin said. "She wants an audience," Taylor replied. "She can have one. I didn't bring an audience. You came to our boat." I looked at Austin. "I need Jonathan." "You need to leave," he said. Several guests had stopped boarding. Others gathered along the rail above us. Taylor held her phone at chest height. "This is exactly what we warned everyone about," she said to the camera. "She can't stand that she isn't in control." "Taylor," I said, "put the phone down." "No. You've documented us for months. I documented a contract. You threatened our reception. I didn't. You told Austin to pay for it himself. After you removed me." She turned the phone slightly so Austin appeared beside her. "Tell her," she said. He looked at the guests, then at the screen. "Mom, I sent you the link. This is as close as you're getting." The words sounded worse in his voice. I held the folder against my side. "I understand. Then go home. I'm not here as a guest." Taylor laughed. "Then why are you dressed like that?" I looked down at my gray sweater. "I'm dressed to speak with a manager." "You are not ruining this. I haven't touched your ceremony. You're trying to embarrass us." "No, I'm asking you to move." Austin stayed in the center of the gangway. "Whatever is in that folder can wait." "No, send Jonathan an email. I need to give him something." Taylor moved closer. "Give it to us." "No. What is it?" I didn't answer. Her phone remained aimed at my face. Behind her, someone asked whether they should keep boarding. Taylor called over her shoulder. "Yes, this is just a family issue." No one moved. Then the charter office door opened. Jonathan stepped outside. He saw Austin in the gangway, Taylor holding the phone, and me with the folder. "Mrs. Coleman," he said. "Do you need assistance?" Taylor answered before I could. "She isn't on the guest list." Jonathan looked at her. "I didn't ask about the guest list. This is our wedding." "Yes, ma'am. She's trying to disrupt it." Jonathan turned to me. "What do you need? I have written notice for you." Austin stepped off the gangway. "Mom, don't." He knew then, maybe not the exact clause, maybe not the procedure, but he saw the agreement through the open edge of the folder. Taylor looked at him. "What is she doing?" He moved toward me. "Can we talk privately?" "You had months to do that. Please. I asked you to correct the truth. Not here. You chose here." His eyes moved toward the guests. "Mom, give me 5 minutes." Jonathan stood near the office door. He didn't interfere. He waited for my instruction. Taylor lowered her phone slightly. "What's in the folder?" I looked at her. "The charter agreement." Her face changed. "You said the charter hadn't changed. It hadn't." Austin spoke quickly. "We can fix this. What will you fix? We'll take down the post. People already received it. We'll send something else." "What?" "I don't know yet." Taylor grabbed his arm. "Stop negotiating with her." He pulled away. "She can cancel the boat." Taylor stared at him. "No, she can't." Jonathan said nothing. She turned to him. "Can she?" He kept his voice even. "Mrs. Coleman is the contracting client, but the event has started. The vessel has not departed." Taylor raised the phone again. "You planned this. I prepared for it. You waited until everyone was here. I waited for Austin to make his final choice." Austin looked toward the boat. Guests lined both railings. The music had stopped. He turned back to me. "I did what I had to do for my wife." "I know. Then don't punish everyone else. I'm not taking anything they paid for. You're taking our reception. It was never yours to take without me." Taylor stepped between us. "You gave it to us. I paid for a charter under my name, as a gift." "Yes. You can't pull back a gift because your feelings got hurt. I'm acting under the agreement. This is sick." Austin touched her shoulder. "Taylor." She shook him off. "No. Let everyone see what she is." She pointed the phone directly at me. "Go ahead, Patricia. Tell them how much control costs." I opened the folder. The agreement was on top. The cancellation notice rested beneath it. I removed both. The dock became quiet. I handed Jonathan my identification first. He checked it, then looked at the notice. Mrs. Coleman, before I accept this, I need to confirm your instruction. Yes. You are directing the charter company to cancel today's private charter of the North Star Belle before departure. Yes. You understand that the full charter fee is forfeited? Yes. There will be no refund. I understand. Austin stepped forward. Wait. Jonathan kept the notice in his hand but looked at me. Do you want me to accept and process this cancellation? Austin touched my arm. Mom, please. I moved my arm away. Taylor's phone captured everything. Yes, I told Jonathan, accept it. He checked the signature and date. Then he signed the receipt section and marked the time. The cancellation is accepted. Taylor made a sharp sound. No, we don't agree. Jonathan handed me a copy. You are not the contracting client. We can pay. The current charter has ended. My parents can pay. We cannot create a replacement charter at the dock. This boat is full of our guests. I understand. Then do something. I am. Jonathan turned toward the vessel. He called to the crew supervisor and spoke quietly. The supervisor nodded and went inside. A moment later, an announcement came over the boat's speaker. The private charter had been canceled. Guests needed to collect their belongings and disembark. For several seconds, nobody moved. Then voices rose across both decks. Taylor stared at Austin. You told me she couldn't do this. I didn't know. She paid for it. How could you not know? I thought she was bluffing. I folded my copy of the notice and returned it to the folder. Austin faced me. Reverse it. I can't. Tell him you changed your mind. Jonathan answered. The charter has been canceled. Austin moved closer. Mom, I'm sorry. It was the first direct apology he had given me. It arrived after the speaker announcement. What are you sorry for? I asked. For all of it. Name one thing. He looked at the guests beginning to come down the gangway. Not now. Then it isn't ready. Taylor still held the phone, though her hand was shaking. Comments moved across the Livestream screen too quickly to read. A guest stopped beside us. Is Patricia the one who paid for the boat? She asked. Taylor turned the camera away. Austin didn't answer. Jonathan did. Mrs. Coleman was the contracting client. The guest looked at the folder in my hand, then at Austin. So the message you sent everyone left that out. Austin's mouth opened. Nothing came out. The guest walked toward the parking lot. Others followed. They carried wrapped gifts, handbags, suit jackets, and flower arrangements. Crew members collected unfinished drinks before anyone stepped onto the dock. Taylor finally stopped the live stream. The screen went black in her hand. You humiliated us, she said. I looked at the emptying boat. No, I ended what I paid for. You waited until our wedding day. So did you. Austin stood between us. His face had gone pale. What are we supposed to do now? Arrange what you can afford. We have 87 people. You confirmed the count. Where are we going to feed them? I didn't answer. That problem belonged to the bride and groom. The last guests came down the gangway. A crew member carried Taylor's cake box to the dock. Another placed 2 flower arrangements beside it. Jonathan checked the lower deck, then the upper one. When the vessel was clear, the crew pulled in the gangway. Austin watched from the landing. The engine started. The North Star Belle moved away from the dock without the wedding party aboard. For a few seconds, nobody spoke. The boat turned slowly into the river. Its white railings caught the afternoon sun. Then the landing filled with noise. Guests asked where they should go. Someone tried to call a restaurant. Taylor's mother stood beside the cake box holding her phone and crying. Taylor walked toward me. You need to fix this. It's finished. You can pay for somewhere else. No. At least cover dinner? No. Her face tightened. You invited these people into this mess. I didn't invite them. You knew they'd be here. It was your guest list. Austin reached us. Taylor, stop. She turned on him. Don't tell me to stop. You said she wouldn't do it. I was wrong. You were weak. He looked at me, then away. That word reached him. Taylor grabbed the handle of the cake box. My parents are calling places. We need to leave. Austin didn't follow immediately. Mom, he said, was this always your plan? No. When did you decide? when you sent the link. That was one message. It was your final answer." He rubbed both hands over his face. "You could have warned me." "I did. I asked you to correct what you chose. I didn't know this was the alternative. You weren't supposed to choose me because you feared losing a boat." Taylor called his name from the parking lot. He looked toward her. "I have to go." "Yes. Can I call you later?" "You can call." He hurried after his wife. Jonathan approached with my copy of the cancellation receipt. "The charter is closed," he said. "You'll receive final confirmation by email. Thank you. I'm sorry this became necessary. So am I." He nodded once, then returned to the office. That was the last part he played. I walked to my car. Guests stood in small groups across the parking lot. Some avoided looking at me, others didn't. One man raised his phone as if he might record me. The woman beside him lowered his arm. I got into my car and locked the doors. Before starting the engine, I checked the Livestream page. The video had ended, but the recording remained. Comments filled the screen. "Wait, she paid for the boat? Why wasn't the client invited? Didn't the wedding post say she threatened them? Her son told her to watch from home." Taylor removed the recording while I was reading. The screen refreshed and showed an error. I put the phone away and drove home. At Pine Street, I placed the folder on my desk. The house looked the same. My coffee cup still sat near the sink. A dish towel hung from the oven handle. I took off my gray sweater and folded it over a chair. Then I made tea. At 6:30, my sister-in-law called. "I saw the live stream," she said. "Yes, I didn't know Austin sent you that message." "He did. I didn't know you were the only person on the contract. You didn't ask him for the complete exchange." She accepted that without arguing. "We're at a restaurant near the landing," she said. "They found a back room. What are they serving?" "Pizza, pasta, and salad." "Did the guests stay?" "Most did. Some left." "Who's paying?" "Austin and Taylor. They split it between their cards. That was the first meal of their wedding they had fully arranged and funded themselves." My sister-in-law lowered her voice. "Taylor is telling people you planned the whole thing for attention." "I didn't. I know that now." "Do you?" "I saw Austin block you at the gangway. I held the tea bag above my cup. He agreed to remove me before today. He told me." "When?" "About 20 minutes ago." I asked him directly. "What did he say?" "That he thought you'd give in." I dropped the tea bag into the saucer. "Thank you for telling me. I'm sorry I doubted you. I didn't tell her it was all right. It wasn't." "I appreciate the apology," I said. That was all I could offer. After we hung up, messages continued arriving. Some guests apologized. Some said nothing about their earlier comments and simply asked if I was okay. 2 people told me I had gone too far. One wrote that I should have sacrificed the money for my son's happiness. I had sacrificed it. They just didn't like where the sacrifice ended. I didn't respond to anyone else that night. At 9:15, someone knocked. I looked through the window. Austin stood alone on the porch. His tie was gone. His shirt sleeves were rolled up. There was a dark mark near one cuff, probably sauce. I opened the door but stayed in the doorway. "Can I come in?" "Not tonight." He nodded. "The meal is over," I heard. "Aunt told you?" "Yes." He looked toward the empty chair on my porch. People kept asking questions. "What did you tell them?" "That you were the client." "What else?" "That we removed you. Did you tell them you agreed?" His jaw moved. "Yes." "Did you tell them I never threatened to cancel before you posted?" "Some of them." "Why only some?" "I couldn't make an announcement in a restaurant. You made one online." He looked down. I took it down. "After the live stream." "I'm sorry." "For what?" His eyes filled. "For sending the link." "What else?" "For not standing up to Taylor." "Standing up for me," I said. He nodded. "For not standing up for you." "What else?" "For the post." "And?" He took a long breath. "For asking you to pay while letting her treat you like you didn't belong. That was better. It still didn't open the door." "I hear you," I said. "Can we please go inside?" "No." "Why?" "Because you apologized after the boat left. I'm apologizing now." "Yes. What do you want from me?" Action. What action? Correct the message you sent. Send it to every person who received the first one. His face tightened. Tonight? When you're ready to tell the complete truth. Taylor won't agree. Your first message used your name. She'll say, I'm blaming her. Accept your part without blaming anyone. He leaned against the porch rail. I don't know how to fix this. Start with what happened. Then what? You and Taylor arrange your own financial life. No requests through me. We aren't asking you for anything. You asked for dinner 4 hours ago. His face reddened. Taylor was panicking. You still asked. I'm sorry. Don't be sorry. Stop. He wiped his eyes with the heel of his hand. Did you lose all the money? Yes. He closed his eyes. All of it? Yes. Why would you do that? You know why. He shook his head slowly. I don't think I do. Then you aren't ready to come inside. I closed the door gently. He remained on the porch for another minute. Then his footsteps moved down the stairs. The next morning, Taylor sent one message. I will never forgive you for what you did. I replied once. Do not contact me for money. She didn't answer. By noon, she had removed me from her contacts online. She also limited comments on the wedding page. The old message disappeared. Screenshots of it did not. Several guests had saved the live stream. Short clips circulated among the same people who had received Taylor's selected account. The clip that changed things wasn't my cancellation. It was Austin saying, "This is as close as you're getting." People heard his voice. They saw him standing between me and the boat. Questions appeared beneath his post before he deleted it. Why did you send that to your mother? Did she fund the reception? Why ask her to sign over control? Their own recording had corrected more than I could. Austin did not contact me for 2 days. On the third morning, an email arrived. The subject line said, "Correction." He had sent it to every guest from the earlier list. He copied me and Taylor. It was not elegant. He wrote that his previous message had omitted important facts. He said I had paid the charter fee and remained the sole client. He said he and Taylor removed me from the wedding before I refused further spending. Then he wrote that I had not threatened to cancel the reception before their public message. He accepted responsibility for agreeing to my exclusion. He accepted responsibility for sending the live stream link and blocking me at the gangway. He did not call it a misunderstanding. At the end, he asked guests not to contact me about the dispute. Taylor's name appeared only in the copied line. She had not signed it. 10 minutes later, Austin sent me a separate email. I wrote it without her approval. I know that doesn't repair anything. I'm going to repay the charter fee. I answered. From whose income? Ours. Does Taylor agree? No. Then don't promise her money. He replied an hour later. I will repay my share from my own income. I'll send a written plan. That afternoon, the charter company sent its final confirmation. The cancellation had been processed. The entire fee was retained. No refund was due. I printed the page and placed it in the locked drawer. The money was gone exactly as I had chosen. On Friday, an envelope arrived by certified mail. Inside was Austin's repayment plan and the first check. The amount was modest. The schedule would take years. I read every line. He had listed his own monthly income, the amount he could pay, and the date each payment would arrive. Taylor's earnings were not included. At the bottom, he had written, "This does not buy access to you or your house." That sentence told me he was beginning to understand. I deposited the check. Then I emailed him, "Payment received. This changes the balance, not the boundary." He answered, "I understand. I didn't invite him over. The following month would show whether he did." The first payment arrived on the date he promised. So did the second. Austin didn't attach apologies to them. He didn't call afterward to ask whether he could visit. Each envelope held a check and a printed receipt for his records. I signed the receipt, copied it, and returned his copy. That was all. 2 weeks after the second payment, he emailed me. "May I come by Sunday afternoon?" I read the question several times. He had asked. He hadn't said he was already nearby. He hadn't assumed Sunday dinner. He hadn't added that Taylor was upset or that he needed help. I replied, "Not yet." His answer came an hour later. "I understand." Sunday passed without a knock. That mattered. The third payment arrived on time. Near the end of that month, Taylor wrote to me. Her message was short. "Austin and I have revised the repayment plan. I will contribute from my income beginning next month. We are not asking you to change any boundary." A new schedule was attached. Both names appeared at the bottom. Their combined payment was larger, but still realistic. It would take a long time to repay the fee. I replied, "I will review the schedule." Taylor answered, "Fine." There was no apology. There was also no request for money. The revised payment arrived exactly as listed. A second followed the next month. Their checks did not undo the landing. They didn't return the fee all at once. They did something more useful. They proved Austin and Taylor could carry an obligation without placing it in my kitchen. During those months, people stopped asking me about the wedding. A few guests contacted Austin after his correction. I knew because he forwarded nothing. He didn't ask me to defend him. He answered their questions himself. My sister-in-law came for coffee one afternoon. She brought a bakery pie and placed it on the counter. "I should have asked harder questions," she said. "Yes." She looked at me. "You're not going to make this easy, are you?" "I'm not making it difficult." She nodded slowly. "That's fair." We ate the pie. We talked about my husband. Not the missing memorial setting. Not what he would have done at the dock. We talked about the way he sang the wrong words to songs and refused to admit it. That conversation gave him more room in my house than the wedding program ever had. By late summer, Austin asked again, "May I visit for 30 minutes? I can stay on the porch." This time, I said yes. He arrived at 2 on Sunday. He knocked. I opened the door and found him holding 2 coffees. "I remembered yours," he said. "Set it on the porch table." He did. He didn't step inside. We sat across from each other. The street was quiet. Someone nearby was cutting grass. Austin looked older than he had at the wedding. Not dramatically. He simply looked like a man who had stopped expecting someone else to finish his consequences. "How are you?" he asked. "I'm well. How's the pantry hinge?" "Still attached." He smiled. "That's good." We drank coffee. For several minutes, neither of us mentioned Taylor. Then he said, "I'm still going through the messages." "What messages?" "The ones I sent you before the wedding. Why?" I wanted to see where I kept avoiding answers. I waited. "There were a lot," he said. "Yes." I kept saying I was in the middle. "You did." "I wasn't." "No." He looked down at his cup. I chose the side that made my day easier. "That's closer." "I thought you'd forgive me eventually." "I might." He lifted his eyes. "I know that isn't today." "No." He nodded. That was another change. He didn't ask what else he needed to do. He didn't treat forgiveness like a final payment date. At 2:30, he stood. I said, 30 minutes. "You did. May I come again next month?" "You may ask." He gave a small smile. "Okay." He carried both empty cups to the outside bin and left. "The next month," he asked. I allowed another porch visit. He came without coffee. He brought no folder and no problem to solve. During the third visit, he asked whether Taylor could come the following time. "I'm not ready," I said. "All right, you can tell her I said that. I will." He didn't try to explain her feelings. The payments continued. One arrived 3 days early. Another arrived on the scheduled date, though Austin mentioned later that money had been tight that month. He didn't ask for a delay. I didn't offer one. In the fall, Taylor emailed me directly. "I understand you don't want to see me. I'd like to say something in person when you're willing. I will wait for your permission." I left the message unanswered for a week. Then I wrote, 15 minutes on the porch. Austin may come. Saturday at 11. They arrived at 10:58. Both knocked. I opened the door and stepped outside. Taylor looked at the empty chair beside Austin. She waited until I pointed to it before sitting. That was new. She placed her hands in her lap. "I was wrong to remove you," she said. I said nothing. I was also wrong to keep asking for money after I did it. Austin looked at her but didn't speak. Taylor continued, I told myself your questions were control. Some were. Most were questions I didn't want to answer. Which ones? She swallowed. Where you were sitting. Why your name was gone. Whether Austin agreed. I rested my hands on the porch table. Why did you remove me? I didn't want anyone there who could challenge the picture I had of the day. That's not the same as peace. No. Why did you send selected messages? To make people agree with me before they knew everything. Austin looked down. Taylor's voice remained steady. I'm not going to ask you to forgive me. Good. Her eyes moved toward the front door. I also won't ask you for money again. That needs to remain true whether we repair this or not. It will. I believe she meant it at that moment. I didn't yet know whether she could live by it. That required time. Our 15 minutes ended. Taylor stood. Thank you for letting me speak. I heard you. It wasn't forgiveness. It was accurate. They walked down the porch steps together. Before reaching the sidewalk, Austin turned. Would you be willing to have dinner with us sometime? At a restaurant, our invitation and our bill. Taylor looked back too. The invitation was direct. No vague promise. No seat near the back. Not yet, I said. Austin nodded. All right. They left without bargaining. Winter returned. The payments kept arriving. Austin visited once a month. Sometimes we sat on the porch with coats on. Sometimes I allowed him into the kitchen. The first time he came inside, he stopped at the threshold. May I? Yes. He entered and waited while I locked the door behind him. I made coffee. I didn't make dinner. He didn't open the refrigerator or ask what I had in the freezer. He sat at the table and told me about work. When he left, he carried nothing. That visit felt cleaner than all the meals I had packed to keep him close. Taylor did not come inside that winter. She sent her portion of every payment. At the end of each month, I received a simple email. Payment sent. I answered, received. That was our relationship for a while. It wasn't warm. It was honest. In early spring, Austin invited me to dinner again. This time I accepted. We met at a small restaurant near Pine Street. They were already seated when I arrived, but Austin stood and pulled out my chair. Taylor waited until I sat before opening her menu. No one mentioned the boat. When the bill arrived, Austin reached for it. I didn't offer. That was harder than it should have been. My hand almost moved toward my handbag from habit. I kept it in my lap. Austin paid. Taylor added the tip. Outside, Austin asked whether I wanted a ride home. I drove. Right. Sorry. He didn't insist. The following Sunday, he came to the porch. He had stopped asking every visit whether he could return. He still asked before each one. That difference mattered. We talked about the garden. He offered to repair a loose board near the steps. I looked at it. Are you offering because you want to help? Yes. Not because you think I need you to earn this visit? No. Then you may fix it next time. He came the following week with a screwdriver and 2 replacement screws. He repaired the board in 10 minutes. Then he asked before sitting. I brought out coffee. There were still things we didn't discuss. I had not shown him the blue dress. He had not asked where I watched the live stream. I didn't need him to suffer every detail before I allowed a conversation. I needed him to stop using my silence as permission. He was learning. So was I. I stopped filling the freezer for visits that hadn't been requested. I stopped keeping extra money ready for emergencies that belonged to 2 working adults. When Austin called, I listened without solving the problem before he finished. Sometimes he only wanted to talk. That had once seemed too small to count as needing me. Now it felt like being known. The repayments had years left. I didn't shorten the schedule. I didn't return checks as proof of forgiveness. Money was no longer the doorway into my house. On the anniversary of the canceled charter, Austin sent the payment early, a receipt followed by email. He asked whether he could visit the next Sunday. I said yes. That morning, I made coffee for 2. I carried the cups to the porch and set one on each side of the table. Then I returned to the small room. I printed the latest restitution receipt and signed my copy. Outside, the empty chair waited in the sunlight. Austin would still have to knock before taking it. I placed the latest restitution receipt in my desk, closed the charter agreement beneath it, and left one empty chair beside my porch table for Austin's next earned visit.